Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Tri-F Podcast, where we try not to mess the podcast up. And we apologize for being an hour and a half late. That is my fault. But we were a bit trepidatious, or hesitant, maybe that's a better word, for the show we're going to do tonight, because there is a fella that is saying some pretty controversial stuff about Christ. And I have not done any research on this individual, and so there's a bit of risk in doing a review of this fella, because he might say something completely out of left field that I've never heard of and might not be able to refute. But we thought we'd go ahead and watch the video anyway, because it might be a good educational experience as to how to use basic methodologies to refute somebody without doing any actual research. We'll see, though. We'll see if this blows up in my face or not. But we decided to risk it at the end. So this week we're going to be reacting to Ammon Hillman. And Trevor, first of all, Cody, how are you this evening?
I'm wonderful, brother. How are you?
I'm all right. I have no right to complain at all.
Good.
So, Trevor, what about you?
It's a fact.
Yeah.
I'm all right. I am ready to get on with this thing.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about what you know concerning Ammon Hillman.
Okay, so I was kind of like looking more into Bob Larson there, and this interview came up on my For You page on YouTube, and it's Danny Jones on his podcast, and it's just a podcast where Danny Jones is trying to get the backstory of Bob Larson. That's how it starts. So this video is mostly Bob Larson's backstory.
Okay.
And Danny asked Bob if he would try and do an exorcist on Ammon there. And so this is the first time I came across Ammon. And anyway, Ammon is a like a textual. He looks into ancient languages, like Greek and Latin, stuff like that.
Okay. So you like Billy Carson?
But
I mean, because we've said that before.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. Kind of,
Another
sort
one
of.
of those guys. Okay.
But, anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and skip on to where Bob and Ammon kind of get into it a little bit, and Danny's kind of the mediator, if you will.
Okay.
But anyways, I thought this was interesting, and
It seems to be.
I thought we could share it and talk about
All
it.
right.
Definitely interested to see what what all these parties have to say.
Yeah, I love starting from zero. I'm not nervous at all, but we'll see how this goes. Okay, here we go. So this is Antichrist versus Exorcist debate. Who is the real Christ? Ammon Hillman and Bob Larson. YouTube channel is Danny Jones. So
Danny Jones podcast. Yeah, he's a well-known podcast.
Oh, Danny Jones Locker, eh?
all right, let's get into it.
May I ask a simple question?
Sure.
Is Ammon your christened name?
It is my third name. It's my second middle name.
Exactly.
Huh.
Has anybody called you out on that?
Look, here. It's on my driver's license, Bob.
No,
you want to see it?
but it's not your christened name.
What the hell? What does that mean?
What did your parents name you?
My mother gave me 4 names when I was born. David, Charles,
Okay, I hate to be superficial, but I'm already going, this dude's taken a few things in his time. But anyway.
Yeah.
Does this dude have a tattoo on the side of his head?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's actually talked about. He'll actually talk about that.
Okay. All
All
right.
right. Seems like a
And
bit of
I
a
go by
showman.
Ammon.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. It looks like a bit of a shtick. So, anyway, we'll see, though.
Because David murdered a bunch of people.
Wait. Why did they give you Ammon?
Let's see the driver's license. We need proof. Can you punch it on this, Steve?
Well, I'm just asking. Why did they give you?
David.
I'm just curious.
Charles Hill. It doesn't say Ammon.
Oh, they didn't put the fucking Ammon on my. It's on my birth certificate.
So that was Bob Larson actually getting the demon to manifest. Why are you called Ammon? And he just got him to manifest.
Yeah, you're
just
right.
A little bit.
You're right.
And this is when I think.
Yeah, Gary's laughing, but Trevor, you're right, dude. I mean,
I'm not laughing at
the demon
Trevor.
is calling himself.
I'm not laughing at Trevor. I don't disagree with anybody.
The demon's name is Ammon, and he's like calling him out.
Yeah. Anyways,
that's wild.
This is when Bob is like, okay, I need to go back home, and this is a type of demon that I'm going to have to pray and fast over, because Jesus said some of these will only come out by prayer and fasting, and Bob was not ready for this deep of demon. So, but
powerful.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to go on?
Yeah. Demons have a hierarchical structure, and some of them are they got their claws in a little deeper because of the power that they have.
That has to do with the name on the side of his head. We'll get into it in a minute.
Okay. Damn, this is interesting.
If you don't stop using the F word, I will leave.
All right, stop.
I'm not going to put up with
Can I
that.
bring Chewy
listen.
and just tell him that it's on my birth certificate? It's my second middle.
We need to make this. Hold on, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to make this something that people can learn from.
YouTube
That's the
friendly.
purpose of this.
I
Not
understand.
YouTube friendly.
No.
No, just respectful so people can learn from this. We need to make
No
this.
F-bombs.
Where
No F-bombs. What's the
did
point? You're just going
the
to ruin
name
it.
I apologize,
Ammon
dear.
come from?
I'm
Where did the name Ammon come from?
My uncle's name is also Ammon, his first name, so I don't know. Yeah, I really don't. Well, there's a bunch of immigrants from Europe, man, from all different places. I have no idea. No idea. Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Where do you think it comes from?
What makes you curious?
I don't know. Maybe the Ammonites.
Who are the Ammonites?
Ask him.
Who are the Ammonites?
Oh, they're nobody.
They're nobody.
Isidore. Isidore said.
Well,
Isidore, Saint Isidore. He wrote.
I'm talking about the ancient civilization.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the Ammonites, or as my southern relatives preachers would say, the Ammonites.
They
But
say
I get that.
Ammonites, but
I
you
get
say
that.
and I'm just curious. I don't know. You know, that may be just a red herring, but it's.
I think it
find
is.
I find it rather interesting that you were given that name, if that is what you were given.
Yes, I haven't given it much thought.
And
for
you
the
want to tell
Ammonites.
this man what the Ammonites were like, what they did?
It was one of the groups that they wanted to destroy.
Israel.
in the
I've always heard
Sept-
it called Ammonites, but maybe it's Ammonites.
well, that's what they said. As our southern groups would say.
Ammonites. Okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
Semantics.
Why is it this? Is it just me?
Did you notice his shirt?
I know.
Have you seen like the 14th, 15th century picture, like paintings of demons and shit? Like
Yeah,
that's what's on
and-
his
Oh,
shirt.
really?
Yeah. Earlier,
Yeah.
Bob actually brings that up when he first sits
Boy.
down, and Bob is like, "I'm not sure I could do this with Satan staring at me."
You remember that? You remember that video I sent you about clowns being Nephilim?
I should have watched that.
You're gonna have to go back and watch it, dude. Like it's the same shit.
Dude, like,
Yeah.
Like these, dude. This is crazy.
I thought that was
Yeah.
just a Hawaiian shirt. Wow, I'm dumb. So
Oh,
Yeah, no, there's little demon faces all over
that's
that
wild.
shirt.
Is it just me though, or
And
does it
is it-
seem like this is like incredibly petty? Like this whole argument about whether his name is David or Ammon or whatever. I'm just like, why are we even fighting about this?
Because he's calling himself the name of a demon, and Bob's like, "Why are you calling yourself that?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I don't think about it." You
I
know,
think he
it's,
just wants to
Bob-
tick off his parents.
He's blowing it off.
I mean, maybe no. You think
Whoa.
he's just like it's like actually the demon or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that actually ties into
This
the
dude's an
tattoo
empty
on his
fucking
head.
vessel. Sorry, Trevor.
Yeah,
Interesting.
no,
Okay.
it actually ties into what's on his head. You remember earlier I was talking to you about this, about the Queen of Babylon?
Which one of us? Trevor. Oh,
To you, before the podcast.
I remember you mentioned the
start.
Queen of Babylon, that he talks about her at some point.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's what's on the side of his head. Is her
Okay.
name,
well,
but it's in like ancient.
I will
Greek.
say this: I found it interesting that he did complain about David being a killer and a rapist because it's like demons are also inherently self-righteous. So it's just always kind of ironic that they complain about that when they, set that sort of stuff up and have probably done infinitely worse. So, or have done infinitely worse. So,
the great accuser.
yeah, the great
right?
accuser. That's right. So, okay, are we ready to move on? Okay.
Yeah.
They're talking about
They were the
Israel
enemy of
going in,
Israel,
and they had to
Oh, let him
totally
go.
and they
Let him go.
practiced human
He's
sacrifice.
letting you talk. Let's let him describe.
I'm not sure he's going to tell you the whole truth.
Well, if he
They
doesn't,
were
then you can
one-
correct him.
They were one of the people that was genocided in antiquity. Yeah,
The
claiming
Ammonites were
from
genocidal.
that's what the text says. Yeah.
Okay.
There's not much evidence.
They
for
were
it.
setting babies on fire. I don't feel bad for them. They go, oh, the poor Ammonites, they were genocided. Yeah, well, they were roasting their own children, so, wah. I don't care. So,
They were worshiping Molech.
yeah, we always neglect the fact that they, from what I understand of history, they literally would, like, build, I don't know what you call them, like, areas, basically, where the children would be, like, roasted on these bronze arms to this deity. But they had the arena. They had the arena set up in such a way that you couldn't hear the babies screaming. Not because they were empathetic, but because they didn't want to distract the people in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Like, if I also remember my facts correctly, like, these people were so depraved that the Greeks would come into this area and be like, dude, these guys are insane, So, like, this is not exactly a bunch of... these aren't beaver cleaver people just minding their own business, and then the evil Israelites come in like the Vikings and wipe everything out. Like, these were, like, crazy cannibalistic psychopaths. So, anyway,
Man,
But, we genocided the genociders. How awful.
right?
Just who were they historically? Who were they historically? Who did they worship?
I think you're probably going to say Molech or something
Yes,
like
Moloch.
that. Yeah.
Yes, and they practiced infant sacrifice
And with the
and blood
God, the
rituals
altar, yeah.
and all
Details.
sorts of sexual
Details.
licentiousness.
They just killed babies.
Okay, so
Whatever.
I don't know that there's a connection, but
Yeah.
oftentimes a name, as you well know, from
know
ancient
well.
Hebrew culture,
know well.
always designated something spiritually about the progeny. Now, is it possible that there's a curse of Ammon on this man? And it was put there, maybe not deliberately, but perhaps deliberately by an ancestor. I don't know if he's telling the truth.
That is the
If he's telling the
sexiest thing.
truth,
That-
if this is an ancestral name, I would say I'd change my name. But he hasn't. And he may, I'm just suggesting.
Well, your name, your public name was D.
All right,
What'd you call
explain
it?
that for people who don't know, like me. So he's saying there is a curse of Ammon. So by naming this person, you're putting a curse on them?
It's generational curse.
Okay, so this is a generational curse. So,
And it could go way back to
Makes a lot more sense if you believe in reincarnation.
the Babylon times.
okay.
Back when the Ammonites were still doing things. It could go all the way back to then.
But what Barb Larson's saying is like, hey, you need to change your name because you're identifying as that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like he's self-perpetuating the curse.
Seems like he's doing that more by choice, though. I mean, considering the fact
is.
that he's
Right.
got demons on his Hawaiian shirt or whatever that is. So,
he
Well,
is.
yeah.
It's,
I mean,
it's
the-
deliberate.
He's like an empty vessel, dude. Like he's given into sin so much, I guess.
Well, you're absolutely right.
The demon has taken over his body, and like he's resembling the demon, and like the demon dresses him. And
okay.
Yeah, which later he talks
So in
about.
you guys' opinion, are we listening to the actual man or are we listening to the demon right now?
Both.
Both.
Have you seen? Did you watch that movie Nefarious? You did,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we did the review on it.
Think about it like that. And we would probably don't get much of. You probably don't get much of the actual.
Yeah, in that
guy.
movie, it was the demon completely taking
Well,
over,
right.
and the guy was just kind of almost like a sucker, like he was a victim almost in
Yeah.
that way.
subjugated to the will
Yeah.
of the demon.
Well, later he actually says that he killed David. Like later in this.
Well,
I think it's this
I mean,
video
could
or
be.
whatever.
So he killed David.
Kind of like a Darth Vader thing.
Okay. So
Yeah.
he's being. Is he?
This is fucking wildly interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. This guy is certainly a character.
Did you ever call yourself David, or was it?
DCA Hillman was
Right.
what I got.
When
put
did you
on my
change it to Ammon?
publications. I didn't change anything. My mother.
I mean, when did
gave
you-
me-
when did you kill David?
You now want to be known as
oh.
When
Ammon.
did you kill David?
Oh, when did I get rid of? Yeah, when I realized that he was
You
a
now
mass, he
you
was a
now
mass
want to be known
murderer.
as Ammon. And is it
no. Carl Ruck was sitting with me one day. Dr. Carl Ruck, he's a classicist, and he's sitting with me one
He's
day.
a
and
Harvard classical philologist.
I turned to him and I said, hey, you know David was a mass murderer. I hate that name. And he goes, why don't you use your middle name? What is it? And I said, well, I've got two, Charles and Ammon. And he goes, oh, Ammon, that's a good one. Use that one. That's a true
It has
story.
a better
Okay.
ring to it
It's
than
Or
Charles.
academia, everybody.
That's what he is.
Good.
He's a classicist.
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 Okay.
Sorry.
Well, yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Text.
Modern textual critic type. Some variation of that
Yeah.
field.
Well, ancient.
Yeah.
Text.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm all sorts of impressed so far. It's like, yay, college. Go with the name that sounds more demonic. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
There may be nothing to that. I just find it interesting. I
Thank
find
you.
it interesting because everything that you're suggesting is consistent with that type of a belief system.
What if I told you that St. Isidore said that the name of the Antichrist is Ammon?
Could be.
Yeah, he said that.
Who is Saint
Well,
Isidore?
what?
Wrote
But
that down.
it could be many names.
Yeah, no, it's
be
interesting.
many
Like
names.
you, I find it just interesting.
If you sacrificed your children to Moloch in a
oh my God!
in a
can you
bloody
imagine?
ritual, I would say,
what's the big deal? You just keep bringing up the killing babies thing. I mean, why do you keep going back to that? What's the matter with you? Gosh, you Christians just can't let go of the whole child sacrifice thing. Oh, you're so straight. What a bunch of squares.
that could lead to the Antichrist. It could lead to a lot of things. But really, at a bottom line here, you're not interested in renouncing the devil and renouncing the path that you're on to receive an exorcism at this point. You're not.
I wouldn't dare step forward and renounce the devil. I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Just like I wouldn't dare step forward and renounce Vishnu. Right? I'm not a renouncer. I'm not a
Well,
renouncer,
wait,
and I can't do that.
Okay,
Well,
so
so
you're
he
not.
can't even do an exorcism then, even if he wanted to, because there has to be like the person has to want it gone. That's like part of it, isn't it?
And
Yeah.
So
and Bob knows that. So that's
okay.
willing to renounce that.
No,
and
well,
as you
no.
know,
My brain says I
every-
have to have this.
every
Bob.
historic Christian baptism
Yeah.
included the renunciation of the devil.
Of course.
Okay, all right. And you're not willing to stand with historic Christianity.
No. Because what we have now is not what they had in
You've
antiquity.
rewritten Christianity.
Yeah.
You've rewritten the Bible. You've rewritten all these things, the gospel according to Ammon. So there's really no discussion here except the possibility of a private discussion in which you might tell me some things you won't tell in front of a camera.
You know, in antiquity, Bob, the pagans and the Christians.
You're not responding to
would
what I
get
said.
together. I am responding with this answer. In antiquity, the pagans and the Christians, prominent intellectuals, would come together, and they still had that classical civilization's focus on the gymnasium. And they would come just like you and me, and they would debate back and forth, right? I am not looking for any sort of ceremony with crosses. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me, Bob. What matters to me is the facts that are in this book that I have dedicated my life to studying.
We get that.
Right?
May I ask just
Why don't you
an
like the
obvious
Bible?
question?
Usually people
What
love the
is
Bible.
tattooed on your head?
Oh my goodness,
Here it is.
Bob! That's the point the devil
I
was
can't
making.
see it. I can't see it. What
Read
is
it.
it?
Read it, Bob.
Well, I can't read it.
It says Medea.
Right, that's Greek, Bob.
And why is it there?
What is the one on the other side?
There.
That linear B?
Yeah, this is linear B. Medea, same name. And this, Bob,
And
is
why?
Etruscan.
And wait a minute.
God,
wait a
watch
minute.
this,
Why is Medea there?
It's the same. I'm telling you that. It's the same name in Etruscan. Mattia. She was so well known in antiquity, the first Christ, that she was known all the way from the Black Sea to Spain. Imagine being that popular in antiquity.
Why was she so
That's
popular?
difficult because of what she could do with the
could she do?
Christing drugs.
No. You leap from Medea to Christ.
She was the first Christ,
Wait a minute.
historically.
You're not
Let him-
telling me
let
what
him
she
ask.
did. What did she do?
What did she do? Like, what was her job?
Huh?
She was the queen of Babylon.
Yeah.
Okay, just as a aside, you can always tell people are lying when they won't answer basic questions. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, how was she like Christ? Oh, she just was, man. It's just awesome. Because she was really well
Hey,
known.
what's that?
And something about drugs. We gotta really add drugs to this whole thing, guys. I'm like, wait,
Steve-O.
Steve, yeah.
This dude reminds
You're
me
right,
of Steve-O.
he does. You're right. I was wondering.
It's the same demon.
For those of us that don't know who's Steve-O,
Steve-O from Jackass?
Yeah, he basically
I never
these
watched
guys like
Jackass.
tortured themselves, did all these stunts for money, and made a movie out of it. Basically,
Oh yeah.
So,
Okay, I know
yeah.
the movie, but
And
I've
also,
never
I wanted
watched
to
it.
point it out. The inflections in his voice, it reminds me of RFK.
I don't know if I can see Steve-O. I can't see RFK. RFK has a speech problem in his throat, though. I don't know if that's a fair comparison.
Yeah, but why?
Because the Kennedys, don't they usually get that? Like, isn't that like a genetic thing that happens to them?
What did Jesus say when he healed people?
Which time? Like, your faith.
You're
Go
Forgiven
and
of
sin
your
no
sins?
more. Go and sin no more. Your sins are what cause your ailments.
Oh, I disagree with that. What about Job then?
I don't know. That was before Christ
Well,
forgave
there's still a
everybody.
spiritual
I don't know.
principle there. Just because bad.
I mean, I don't know what Job sounded like. I'm just saying, like, this guy's clearly a demon, and RFK has the same kind
I
of
don't
like, inflections
see-
in his voice. If you
I
kind of
don't.
listen to
I don't
it,
see the inflections. I'm not hearing that.
Well,
I
keep
can. I
listening.
can hear Steve-O. I'll agree with you on Steve-O. It's.
Dude,
I'm
Steve-O,
definitely
like,
getting
he
Steve-O
looks exactly
vibes,
like Steve-O.
but I don't see RFK.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I could. I'll go with you on the Steve-O thing for sure. That is kind of wild.
All right, just listen for the RFK
All right,
inflections.
I'll try to listen. For it.
It's like a shakiness.
Yeah, there's many different inflections.
I just want to, just for the end of the point, though, the guy will not answer the most basic questions. Like,
Yeah.
which just tells me he's full of crap, just right off the bat.
Right.
So, anyway.
Queen of Babylon,
Yes.
the fountain of all witchcraft, Babylon.
The Medes.
Babylon the great is
followed her.
fallen. I'm sure
Yes,
you know
I'm telling
those
you,
words.
yes. Yes, you're right.
Babylon, the symbol of ultimate evil.
The witchcraft, the sorcery, the porneia.
And that's
Very
what,
central.
and that's basically what you have on your head.
Not basically, that is what I have on my head.
And you think we can have a reasonable dialogue? You really think that?
Why does that mean we can't have a
You
reason-
are
I think this is fascinating.
You tattooed with the symbol of witchcraft and sorcery, and you want,
On
you
my
want a
head.
dialogue.
on my head?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. Well,
Why do you put tattoo names on your head in antiquity?
what do you come on now, Ammon. Let's just, can you drop the public persona for a moment and just be very
No, this
real
is
here?
me, Bob.
You went from believing that Jesus Christ was your Lord and Savior.
Yes, definitely.
That you were a sinful being
Definitely.
in need of
Masturbating
forgiveness.
sinner.
Overnight,
Yeah.
because of Aristotle,
Not overnight, instantly with Aristotle.
enjoying
Yes,
fornication.
definitely.
And then
She enjoyed it too.
tattooing on your
So, is this guy claiming to be a Christian, Trevor? Is that part of his shtick?
No. In his interview, which is a separate video, he talks about before he started his deep dive into all this.
So, textual criticism destroyed his faith?
he was a Baptist, just like
Uh-huh.
we grew up, and he grew up believing. He did the whole. He said the words and got baptized, and then at like 21, he was still a virgin, and something clicked, and he was like, "Oh," and then he went out and had sex with this girl. He doesn't go into details. And then,
Oh, so he was possessed through sexual energy,
I don't
possessed
know.
by that girl's demon.
I don't know. He didn't talk about it.
Probably, I'm guessing.
So he got tired of being a virgin, called uncle on that, and then turned into this charming individual we see before us. Is that what I'm...
over lots of years of going over text.
Okay,
and
so he
stuff.
got into modern textual criticism and it ruined his faith. As it does,
Basically.
because the Alexandrian line is crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he probably would not agree with the notion that the Sinaiticus is a forgery, or at least a facsimile
I don't.
from the 1800s.
I don't know.
He probably doesn't know anything about
Probably.
that debate, I would imagine. Yeah, this is probably an excellent example of why modern textual criticism is not the greatest approach to have ever been invented in the last 100 years. So, if he is actually, I don't know if there's a distinction between a classicist and a modern textual critic. Like, is there a difference?
Yeah, no, he does. What's his name? Wes Huff.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Is that
West
right?
Huff, yeah.
Yeah, he does not like Wes Huff at all.
Why? Does he say
Looks
why?
like he doesn't like anybody.
He thinks
He
that
hates humans
He
'cause he's a
thinks
demon.
Wes Huff is full of crap.
Hang on, I'm Googling this. Modern.
This guy's a mess.
Yeah, he's not in a
Yeah,
good
he's
place.
a mess. Yeah, and they actually talk about it in the interview. No one will debate him, and Danny has tried to connect with like Wes Huff and several others, and no Christian, as far as they claim, will come debate him.
Now, is he doing traditional,
I'll debate
what
him.
the AI is calling traditional literary theory versus modern textual criticism? I'm assuming, although I don't know, that traditional literary theory is the same thing as formal textual criticism.
I'm not sure.
Like,
I'm
I
not
would,
sure.
we need to hear more
He-
about
he
this
goes
guy and
into-
kind of figure out what kind of what kind of criticism he's using, because, I mean...
Yeah, he goes into deeper detail in the interview that I shared with
Well,
you.
I would feel comfortable saying he's got a bias. I don't know if he'd be the most reliable source on a normal day. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised he would be irked at Wes Huff, but he's making a wonderful... The King James onlyists would be thrilled to learn about this guy if he is tied to modern textual criticism. But anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if that's what he is, so we'll just have to kind of keep listening.
No,
and see.
he claims to be a ancient classicist, not.
See, I don't know what
Textual
that means.
criticism.
A classicist.
A class. That sounds like a
Yeah,
made-up
I know.
word.
I know.
I got a
He
classicist,
might-
an advocate or
Maybe that's
follower
it.
of classicism, a classical scholar, classistic. That just is saying the same word over and over again. I don't know what that means.
You see, I didn't even think to look that up.
I mean, a classicist is like the epitome of judgment, right? Like you're putting people in boxes or classes, which is how you end
Well,
up in
there's
hell.
different. What this is referring to more directly is there are different types of criticism when it comes to looking at ancient literature. So, like a
Oh, so classicist is actually a textual word.
I think, yeah, like it's a textual term. Like the two classifications I'm aware of, there's modern textual criticism and formal textual criticism. You might say it's like eclectic textual criticism. Like modern textual criticism is synonymous with eclectic textual criticism, and then there's formal textual criticism. Now, formal textual criticism is like if you're translating the Bible, you look at it and you just write it down, right? A modern textual critic goes off a certain criterion, like scholarly rules from like Westcott and Hort. Let me see if I can actually look up the rules for Westcott and Hort. So it's not just like copying the text down, like you're trying to interpret what the text means, which there's a lot of subjectivity as to how you can do that, and that's kind of by design, in my opinion, because modern textual criticism comes from the German rationalists out of the 1830s, and that's a whole thing. So let me see if I can find Westcott and Hort's textual critic theories really quick.
It's crazy how these like demons start looking like they all look the same, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he actually, like, Danny actually looks this stuff up on the interview that he has with Ammon, that other video,
Yeah, we'll have to look at it.
when he's doing a full interview with Ammon.
Now, I am not a fan of Westcott and Hort, just for clarity, but this is like, I don't know if this is all of them. I thought there were like 12, but here's 5 of them. So the AI pulled up 5. Prefer the older reading manuscripts or groups, which I don't agree with. I think that's a bad idea. Approve or reject readings based on quality, not quantity. That is also a bad idea. Prefer readings that make sense, conform to grammar, and fit the author's style. I agree with conform to grammar, but author's style is subjective. Prefer readings that best explain other readings, also subjective, so I don't agree with either one of those. Prefer readings that are harder or more difficult. Also don't agree with that. So basically, these are subjective rules that are supposed to tell you what the appropriate interpretation is. I would argue you couldn't reconstruct Huck Finn with these rules, but some people disagree, obviously. So, I don't know, though, if modern textual criticism is like in the same category as classicist. And so I really can't add anything beyond that until I know exactly what this guy's referring to, because I'm not seeing a connection with modern textual criticism in the claimed classicist. Like, I'm Googling and I'm not seeing any commonality in the term. So I don't know what this guy's talking about.
Yeah, I don't think they are the same, like in the same.
Yeah, because if he... Yeah, I just feel like he's being a little... Like he's kind of doing the Billy Carson thing where you kind of muddy definitions and terms, the great kind of confusion, you know?
Yeah, he's definitely got confusion in there. But the thing is people are following him.
Yeah. So we'll try to listen on. I mean, I don't know how much more to say about it until we can actually nail down a definition of classicist, because I'm not finding it. But anyway, so we'll pull this guy back up. Does anybody else have any other thoughts on that or anything to add?
I'm really starting to like Bob Larson at this point,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's been doing
given this binary.
he's been doing deliverance ministry for like almost 60 years now.
Yeah. Well, last video we talked about him, I was kind of put off by him, but
Okay.
Yeah.
he's gaining more credibility as we speak.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Whore of Babylon.
Yes.
Hey,
If you wanna
look, an
learn how to
ad.
edit really well from professional Hollywood
Nice.
editors. We're going to show you the stuff that nobody else is teaching.
The horror of Babylon.
Well,
The poor name.
that's
top of poor
an
name.
interesting leap. If I did not believe in the grace of God and the power of Christ, I would think you are hopeless, but you're not. You're not hopeless. There have been worse than you
Yeah.
who have turned again to Christ.
But
What is your understanding of Lady Babylon?
Huh?
Yeah.
What is your understanding of Lady Babylon? Your personal understanding. of
Well,
her?
Babylon has both literally and metaphorically stood as the ultimate example of sorcery, witchcraft, and rebellion against God. Over and
Because of-
over again,
okay.
it's
because of
referred
Medea, because of this woman.
to ultimate rebellion against God.
Okay.
And in the end of time, Babylon the Great has fallen.
Yes.
It speaks of this kingdom finally being judged by Christ and cast down.
Okay.
At the end of the age.
the Morning Star by the Morning
and,
Star.
and so So he has this on his head.
And who was Lady Babylon? What did she do?
Well,
When he
well,
says
this-
the morning star, he means Satan. That's why he added that in there. So,
Well, he's calling. It's an inversion. He's calling Christ Satan.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
This is just a symbol, okay? The symbol is of rebellion, of witchcraft,
Okay, I see.
of the worship of the devil, of human sacrifice. You name it, all the licentious possibilities that are there.
What about medicine?
Okay, that is tattooed on his head.
Did you know the word medicine comes from
the
Medea,
guy-
from First Christ?
Who tattoos
Well, I'm a
this-
little bit of a skeptic of medicine at this point, so I don't know if that's a point in his favor.
Right.
But anyway,
Pharmakia,
right,
anyone?
right.
on his head stands in judgment of Christ as a file. I'm done. I'm done. I don't have enough Celsius to keep going.
That has nothing to do with the Bible, though. I don't understand.
But my offer still stands.
yeah,
My offer
because
still
you're
stands.
a flim-flammer. I'm not going to
You'll
take your
come
offer.
see me personally.
You came here to get $5,000. That's what you fucking came here for.
No microphones.
Yeah.
Just you and
No
I talking
microphones.
man to
Oh,
man.
Scary. You're a scared little man. And that's the problem. Just like the
He's
folks
not.
in
He's
Harvard.
sat here and he's been talking to you for 30
Christians-
minutes.
No, he
He's
hasn't
been
been talking
talking.
about the Bible. He doesn't want to talk about the Bible because he can't.
Okay.
Just like the people at Harvard
I am
can't. What is
not-
it, Christ, Bob?
You know.
How was
I'm
Medea
I'm
the
not-
first Christ?
I'm
Can you
not-
explain how Medea was a Christ?
Diodorus Siculus, the historian, comes along and
I
he
told
says,
you
this is
He
what
just
they're
ignores
doing.
it. He's like, how? How is she like the first Christ? And he's like, I'm not. Here's this other Greek thing. So, just dodging,
Yeah.
just dodging.
Any more ad
Christ.
hominem arguments, we would be done.
You just talked about my tattoos. You're
Okay.
such a hypocrite, just like the Christians
no,
everywhere.
But you didn't
A
deny
lover
what I
of
said.
love.
Someone didn't get a pony for Christmas when they prayed for one.
Ouch.
No doubt.
You're just like the rest of
Pony
them.
boy,
You're just
pony
like the rest of them. It's like you've got Whore of Babylon tattooed on your head. Don't judge me, hypocrite. It's like, I don't think that you know what that word means, but okay.
Lies.
You did not
You did not
deny what
lie.
I said about the tattoos. You didn't deny it. So, look,
What if I picked out your ears and I said, "You
Why
bigoted
don't you,
bastard"? You take it personally, Bob.
why don't you let me say a prayer?
You can say a prayer all you want.
I would like
I'm not
to.
restricting you.
I would like to say a prayer.
Please,
Let's do it.
Okay,
please.
Let's say a prayer.
and I would like to put some holy oil on you when I pray.
You can take that holy oil and shove it in your ass, Bob. I'm not one of your victims.
Wait a minute. What'd you just say?
I'm not one of your victims.
No, that's
you want
not-
to hit me
no,
with
just
your
before
cross,
that.
you
What did you- what did-
psychologically abusive.
Why is the holy
Wait a
water
minute,
psychologically
wait a minute.
abusive?
Wait, what did you just I say I could
said-
do with
I
this?
He
you
said
can
put the
shove it up.
water
I
where the
said
sun
you
doesn't
can-
shine.
Do you
can
know
shove it.
what this is a symbol of?
I think it's a symbol of your
Of the Holy
desire
Spirit.
to invade my space, weirdo.
It's a symbol of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And you said I could
What's
shove
the
it
word?
where?
What's the word for Holy Spirit? What's the word for Holy Spirit, Bob? You don't even know that. You're a flim-flammer. You have any snake oil?
What is the word for Holy Spirit? I don't know.
Seriously, Bob, look.
What does
these
it
are all-
matter?
Breath. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't think it's relevant. He's just like, oh, that's gonna burn me.
evading.
Like that might leave a scar. So no holy oil. Thank you very much. I don't want to smoke in the room. So
Dude.
yeah, wow.
His terms, dude. He doesn't even know gospel.
where's my brief?
What does the word gospel mean, Bob?
All right.
What did I do with
Are we wrapping it up, Bob? Or are you got a book or something?
Coward. The devil told me you were a coward, Bob.
All right, we're wrapping it
I
up.
will not listen.
Okay, we're about to hear this guy's argument in the next video. He's not made a very good case for himself. I'm just saying. I'm a little skeptical so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's out there.
I
But-
appreciate.
kind of abusive.
The devil told me you were a coward. It's like, well, he would.
Why didn't he say a prayer though? He said he could say a prair. Why didn't
He
he?
said he would say a prayer if he let him put the holy oil on.
Yeah, he still
him.
should have just went ahead and
Because
Should have
said
said it
he's-
anyway.
If he starts saying the prayer, he's going to manifest a lot more out of him.
So you're saying that he wanted to put the oil on so the demon wouldn't manifest? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, Bob was going to manifest a lot more, and he wanted it.
You mean Ammon was going to manifest a lot more?
But Ammon was going to manifest a lot more, regardless, and he wanted holy oil on him because he knew what was going to happen. He knows what's going to happen. I don't. I'm
I
not.
don't know what you're saying.
I think he still should have prayed over him. I don't think it would have hurt nothing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Filthy,
Look at him.
negative
You've been abusing
language.
people
All right,
for
that's enough.
years.
That's,
And
we don't need to call
name-calling.
names.
Yeah.
Bob showed up here.
I do not have to
he
put up with
engaged
that.
with
I
you.
will not
You
put
still
up
gonna
with
pay
that.
him?
He engaged with you.
You still gonna
if,
pay him?
if he agrees to let me publish this?
Attributing
then
motive is also a lousy debate tactic. It's kind of like an ad hominem. Some people might call that a fallacy.
What motive?
Attributing motive. It's like something people do to,
yeah.
dodge debate and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you're just saying that because you want money. It's like, well, maybe, but I'm still right, though. So,
Yeah.
Well, I'm
that's
not
what-
going to pay him. I'm going
Bob,
to donate to the church.
Remember, Bob, that's what you're all about. Remember that.
About
when he
what?
makes his charitable donation, that's you, buddy. That's you.
Let me see that envelope.
Satan's also the accuser. Let's just throw that out there again for, emphasis.
Is there cash in here?
Cash.
No, I was going to rip it up.
That's your
Well, I won't do that.
prostitution money. You just have him give it to your church, you flim-flammer.
All right. Let's not be rude.
Dude, he said I was demon possessed. He can't take it back? Well, you can say, oh, I'm aggressive with the devil. But when the devil gets aggressive with you, you're a coward and you back down. You go live the rest of your life knowing the devil got the best over you.
I think this audience sees clearly what has happened here, and your
The audience will
reframing
judge.
of it
They
is
will.
not,
They
will
do.
judge.
It's not
they
going
do.
to work.
You're exactly
I
right.
will let the audience
You're
be
exactly
the
right.
judge.
You're exactly. That's the best thing to say. You
That's
should
the
have
best
finished
thing.
with
Let the
that. You
audience
should
be the
put that on the. Fucking,
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate your
Don't
time.
touch my daughter on the way out either.
What?
Don't touch my daughter on the way out.
Are you recording that part?
Yeah, it's recording.
Oh, Bob, I'm a dad. I'm just giving you advice. You do the same thing with your daughters. Bob, how many times did you talk about molesting children on the show? And then you have the balls to look at me and say, you got tattoos. You must be possessed. You've got a lot of gumption. I thought for sure you'd come here because I knew you when I was young. And I said, this guy's got balls. He will confront. And then you were sitting out there talking about confronting the devil, and now you're all afraid.
He's the only one out
You're
of the dozens of people who came here. He's the only one.
Are you going to let him play the whole thing? Or are you going to tell him you can't
I
play
had
parts?
my say.
Yeah. You
I
going to
stated my
He did it.
position.
There's also a
And then-
Bible verse about throwing pearls among swine. I also want to throw that out there. But anyway,
Yeah.
somebody's very, very bitter.
There you go.
Somebody's very, very
Dude,
bitter.
I'm blown away.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
I actually want to talk to that dude.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
he's very,
So-
very angry. So
So after watching this, I was like, okay, I gotta know who this guy is. So
you want to pull the next video up?
there's an interview that Danny has with Ammon, and this is it right
All right,
here.
so it's about a 3-hour one.
And-
So
Yeah, I actually didn't get through the whole thing because he starts getting into some dark stuff, and
is there some
It's
in
hard to
particular
swallow.
topic you're wanting to go over? Because there's like a jillion of these.
yeah,
I was going to start with the ancient Bible because I thought we kind of knew, I might know some stuff about that, and then interpreting ancient texts. That's something I might know something about.
yeah, we could just jump all over.
What's at the 33-minute mark?
33-minute mark. All right, let's look at that. Drugs in ancient Rome.
Does that sound
We
interesting?
can look at it.
I was
We can
just,
look at it. I don't have a preference, so.
I was just being funny.
Yeah, a lot of it is just straight up
Well, if you're serious about it, we can talk about it. I mean, I don't.
demonic teaching, if you ask me. But
Well, let's look at it. Let's just see. Let's just see if he says something stupid like, there were drugs in ancient Rome. That means Christ is an allegory for drugs because there were drugs back in the day.
Probably.
Because drugs.
Well, he does talk about certain drugs meaning Christ.
I bet he does. All right, let's just
Yeah.
start here. See what he has to say.
You're studying Galen, right? And you're working on your dissertation. And what happens next?
Oh, so for my dissertation, I did it on Roman pharmacy.
Okay, right.
And
Roman pharmacy.
Roman pharmacy. Nobody's written a work on Roman pharmacy, and I had already done a translation and commentary for a master's thesis. That's usually what they give to doctoral students. And I had done one for a master's thesis, and I was like, I'm not doing that again. So I'm going to write a text that's just kind of a general Roman pharmacy text so that people can learn about drugs in the ancient world. And the committee told me, take out the chapter on recreational drugs, or we're not going to give you the degree. And
So you only had one chapter that was about recreational drugs.
yeah, the rest were all medicinal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But didn't you say that they didn't distinguish between recreational and medicinal? Is that right?
No, that's exactly right. We were distinguishing.
We do it now, but they didn't back
Yeah,
then.
no, back then. Things that you and I would call recreational, they didn't consider recreational. They considered medicinal. Right? So
Cocaine was
curing
medicinal in like the
depression is
early 1900s.
Yeah, everything starts out medicinal, and then people go, oops. But,
That's why it's all pharmakia,
yeah.
bruh.
Yeah.
All of it.
So
medicinal process.
how long did you spend on this dissertation?
Oh, couple of years.
A couple of years.
Yeah.
And then, so there was one specific moment, a date where you had to go in to, I guess, receive your judging on it or get graded on it or get a feedback on it. I have no idea how this process works. So you have to walk me through it.
Yeah, so you write your dissertation and then you take it before your defense.
Before your defense. Okay.
Yeah, and your committee there is a group of professors, and usually there's one from outside the department, just so the university stays kind of impartial.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so it's a committee of professors. Anyway, you present your dissertation to them, and then they either tell you you're terrible.
They tell you you're terrible.
Or they pass you, and you get to walk out and say, I have a doctoral degree. So they told me at the end, they're supposed to give a thumbs up or thumbs down, but they didn't give me anything. And I was standing there looking around like, what? Right? No. And I met with the head of the department and was told, you have to take out the chapter on recreational drugs, and you have to scrub any references to recreational drugs in the rest of the work. And
What?
you're fine. Yeah.
What was your response?
She said, the Romans just wouldn't do such a thing. This is the head of the department. And by that time, I had seen so much stuff that the Romans were doing. I was like, oh my God, I understand what's going on. They're building a ceiling that we can't get beyond, that doesn't exist. We should be able to go right through that thing. With these texts, we can do that. Anyhow, so I took the material and I sent it to Macmillan. I just scrubbed it, and then I sent it to Macmillan. And they accepted it. Thomas Dunn accepted it. And it was fantastic.
Macmillan is what?
It was St. Martin's Press.
Publishing
Yeah,
company.
it used to be publishing company, St. Martin's Press. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what became the book, the famous book that you created, The Chemical Muse.
Correct.
And once you decided to scrub the chapter from your dissertation and any sort of reference to drugs whatsoever, and then they accepted it and gave you your PhD.
Any references to recreational drugs?
Recreational.
Because there are a whole bunch of drugs all over it, right? For healing, right? I mean, drugs that you use in anesthesia.
Right.
You know, what did they use? You know, fantastic.
What was the response after your book, The Chemical Muse, was published?
The Bryn Mawr Classical Review came out, which is the big reviewer. And a European professor, French, came out and said, this book is dangerous. He said it shouldn't be read at any university. anytime, ever. And he was like,
What year are we talking?
Was that because it was about recreational drugs, or was it shoddy research? Just asking for a friend. But
I'm not sure.
anyway, do we want to move on? I
This
can't
is-
make any statements about this because he's not saying anything specific. Like there's nothing to Google here except
Yeah.
maybe the book. So
Well, the
He's,
first hour or so is just the Danny getting to know who this guy is.
So he's gonna spend the next 8 minutes talking about the book.
full of shit.
I mean,
He's like, oh, I wrote this paper, and they usually, or was it they only give it to doctoral students, but it was in my master's thesis. Like he's already inflating his own
Yeah.
ego, and then he made an inference to breaking through the ceiling, which is what the whole point of the Babylonians. They wanted to break through the firmament and all
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
Like he's just like
hey,
he grosses me
I'm
out.
getting those vibes. Yeah. All right. So he's not impressed so far. Let's see what he has to say. We got the Greek Septuagint and the Dead Sea Scrolls. We got Greek drug cults, Solon and the creation of democracy. Trevor, did you watch this whole thing? Like, what are you?
I got closer to the end,
All right.
and things started getting dark. So I was like, okay.
So we want to see if he starts monkeying with the definition of Christ. Is he going to do that stupid Christ consciousness thing that the CIA may or may not have invented? Not that I'm making any assertions, but
No. He ties Christ in as a drug.
I'm not saying that actually happened, by the way. Since we are live, I do need to clarify that. That was a joke, just so we're clear. Sorry, go on, Trevor.
Yeah, you're really stepping on Bill Donahue's
Oh,
toes
am
there,
I?
Gary.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you the Christ consciousness thing didn't come from Bill Donahue. It came from somewhere else. That's all I'll say. But I got a book on that.
Buddhism?
No, it's in that book I was talking about last week. Happy Lies. Yeah, there's a particular historical figure. I don't not remember his name, but he came up with the term. And I believe it was like in the turn of the 20th century, 1900s. So it's like a newer concept. It's like
Was that before or after Santa Claus and colostrum was invented?
it all came out of that weird cult stuff in New York, man. I'm telling you. It's the same crowd. It's crazy. So anyway, so do we want to do that? Do we want to try to find this thing that creeped you out, Trevor, or what are we looking for?
Do the most salacious thing you
The
can
most
find.
salacious thing I can find.
I can't read any of
Okay,
that.
sorry.
Yeah, I can't really read it.
Okay, let me read it for you then. Let's see. The subjects that are covered. We start off with him talking about his book. He goes Greek Septuagint versus the Dead Sea Scrolls, Greek drug cults.
Yeah,
so
most
on.
all of that. For the
I just
first-
learned how to zoom my screen.
Oh, sweet. So we got Solon and the creation of democracy. We got the ancient Bible. We got Greek came before Hebrew. We've got interpreting ancient texts. We've got John Marco Allegro. We got why the Greek language is superior. The purple.
Oh, the purple. That might be a subject we could do.
Oh, do we want to talk about the purple then?
That was rather interesting.
All right.
Pink and blue mixed together. I'm getting
Ever wonder how
transvestite
professional game
vibes.
studios, visual effects artists, and filmmakers get
Ooh,
such
add-
high
It's
It's
quality?
all coming
Right.
together,
No.
Cody.
Okay.
where does Greek actually come from? It's that old Indo-European bunkum, right? That stuff's not accurate. The Greeks, like, forget modern linguistics. The Greeks, what did the Greeks themselves say in their own text? They said, we are the descendants of the Pelasgoi. These are a group of marauding Chalcolithic, so this is 5,000 BC.
Okay.
5,000 BC, called the Pelasgoi, the carriers of the purple. Yeah,
This is where Greek came from.
these are the antecedents of the Phoenicians, those who carry the purple.
Okay. What is the purple?
Way back. Oh, God. It's Murex squeezing. I take a little snail out of water and he's in a shell.
What?
That was
and
the
I
Corinthians.
squeeze out this stuff and process it. There's a whole bunch of
All right,
processing.
what, Cody?
The Corinthians were the purple dye people.
You might be right. I don't know. I'm completely
remember-
ignorant on that.
I don't know why he's saying they were. I don't know.
So,
I don't know.
well, I mean, they could be. You could be right. I mean, the Corinthians were out of Greece. So,
Yeah, they were like the civilization that was. They had the market for the purple dyes.
okay. Does anybody understand anything
From
else
what
that he was
I
saying?
understood.
Like, I don't even know what he's talking about.
No, he's like, oh, the purple. I mean, come on. I mean,
Yeah,
come
it's
on.
like it's supposed to mean something. I'm like, they like the color purple. Okay.
I gotta go
All
check
right,
on
go
my
for
dog
it, man.
real quick.
Well, he just said it. It's something they squeezed out of like a snail or something.
For the dye, I'm sure. Okay.
Yeah. That's what he's talking about.
And they turn it into a substance that we use in our religion, right? In order to induce oistromania,
What?
right? You can tell the girls who develop it because their fingers are stained with the purple. You can tell because their lips are stained with the purple. Yeah.
So they ate the color purple?
Oh, they ate
I
it.
guess.
Yeah, because they used
So how they
to-
processed it? They had like chew it up or something?
Yeah, it was like some sort of snail, I guess.
So
I
they
don't
had to
know.
like chew up
And
the snail
they
and
would-
spit it out or crush it in some
they
capacity.
would squeeze this purple dye out of these snails, and so their fingers would be stained with that purple dye, and then they would just eat what was left over.
Okay, I mean,
What?
fine. I'm not sure
Something
why
like
that's
that.
significant in any way, but okay. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, it's who knows what's in it. I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, is it DMT? Is it blah blah blah?"
Okay.
Whatever. Who knows?
Oh, is this
Who
why
knows?
there's all those snails on paintings, like psychedelic paintings? Is that what's going? Is that what
Yeah.
he's getting at? Okay.
So
So he's
like that.
thinking,
He's getting it. The purple was a drug.
yeah, like maybe DMT
Yeah.
or some kind of hallucinogenics in the purple fluid of the
But he's
snail.
like not actually claiming that. He's like, well, I mean, it could have been, but I don't know.
Well, it could have been
Yeah.
Barney came back in time and like shaved off his fur and they just dyed it in a bowl. Yeah,
Mashed it up into a ball.
yeah. I mean, could have been a purple spaghetti monster. I don't know. I mean, it could have been anything.
Who cares at this point?
Right.
When do these people stop using drugs?
What is this, Steve? Herculaneum Scrolls, a 20-year-old journey to read the unreadable.
Yeah, this is what Hillman was talking about. This is the
I
Herculaneum
actually
is
saw
that
this on the news not too long ago. This might be interesting.
Yeah.
city that was destroyed. It was a sister city to Pompeii, and it has a lot of preserved scrolls in it. And so it's if you can unwrap these crusted little scrolls, you can read them and
May not have been this specific one, but they've got technology to like read charred scrolls and stuff now.
And that's what Ammon is reading. He can read that
Okay.
without the
So it's some ancient
Computer.
language. Okay.
yeah.
There's one kid that did with AI. He used an AI to help him out. But yeah, like
And-
what Hillman said, it said purple. One of them did. There you
It
go.
was the first word that they could visibly read. This library, they suspect, is, I don't know, they waffle. So I don't know. That's for the archaeologists. They got to figure that out. But they say it's probably the Julian library from the gens Julia. So the gens of Caesar himself, right? It's destroyed in 79. So it's going to have, I can promise you, inside of this thing, I've already talked to the professor who did the scans.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's at Kentucky.
Okay.
SEALs. And he's a nice guy, really nice guy. And he said, no, this is all going to be made public. right? Public access. So I've already got a team of people, shout out to the followers of Lady Babylon, who are ready to transcribe and translate. I guarantee you, I promise you.
How close do you think AI is to translating Greek? And how accurate do you think it could possibly get?
I just had a conversation with Dr. Ruck about that, just a short one, and it's gonna happen. Yeah. Even if they feed it the lexicon, it depends on what they feed her, right? Like Mary nourished in the temple. Did you know Mary was being fed by angels?
No.
All right, let me actually try to get some context here, because it's really hard to evaluate this guy because we know nothing about him. So, Ruck.
Yeah, we'd have to
Ruck.
listen to the
Is it
whole
Peter
thing.
Ruck? I've heard that name. I know that's a name that's used a lot in modern textual circles. Is it the same guy? Modern. Give me a minute here, guys. Is it Peter Ruck? Or is it a different Ruck? Yeah, it's Peter Ruck. Is this who he's talking
I
about?
just want to know why he looks just like Steve-O. This is mind-blowing to me.
So the name is Peter Ruck.
Must be like a self-harm demon.
I don't know.
Unless it's a different...
Most demons are self-harm, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's a professor. All right, so...
They look different, though.
What's his connection with Peter Ruck, though? Like, you're telling me everything except what I want to know.
It's crazy how much the demons on that last interview we watched, the demons on his shirt, they
Yeah.
look like where the wild things are.
Maybe it was where the wild things are. Sure.
Pretty crazy. No, I don't think it was.
No.
I will say this, just as a creepy side. You know, we talked about my times when I had actually got glimpses and seen stuff when I was going through my spat. They did have that two-dimensional oversaturated quality. They didn't look exactly like that, but you know, the two-dimensional kind of overly colorful faces. That was reminiscent. So, you know.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating because again, I had no idea those were demons. So, interesting how that connects.
Huh.
So.
That Nephilim clown thing, man, that's wild. I always think of you remember Air Bud?
Yes.
That movie Air Bud? And I don't think this was supposed to be part of the movie, but you could watch that demon eat that clown guy alive.
Oh.
You know, it just got worse and worse progressively.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of how the clown thing works, is like you put on that mask, right? You're like, I'm happy, and it's a mask. And the longer you let it eat at you, the more the mask becomes you.
Yeah. Like it form fits your face or whatever. You become kind of a parody. Yeah.
I guess you could kind of look at it like the Jim Carrey movie, The Mask, too.
That's true. There might be an archetype there to explore.
Loki?
No, Peter Ruck.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think he actually...
Wait, yeah, doesn't it talk about Loki in that movie?
In Loki, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Loki, yeah.
Whoa! I never put that together.
Well, I can't...
We're in gravy land, boys.
We are. Yeah, no, I'm trying to find a connection between Peter Ruck. Maybe he knows somebody else named Professor Ruck. Because I can tell you a little bit about where he's coming from if I can verify that it's the same Ruck, but I can't. Maybe if I go back a little bit on that video and see if he actually says the full name. Sorry, guys. It's just...
She's got purple fingers. And at this point, when do these people stop using drugs?
What is this, Steve? Herculaneum Scrolls, a 20-year-old journey to read the unreadable.
Yeah, this is what Hillman was talking about.
It's almost gotta be Peter Ruck.
This is Herculaneum is that city that was destroyed. It was a sister city to Pompeii, and it has a lot of preserved scrolls in it. And so it's if you can unwrap these crusted little scrolls, you can read them. And there's one kid that did with AI. He used an AI to help him out. But yeah, like what Hillman said, it said purple. One of them did. There you
It
go.
was the first word that they could visibly read. This library, they suspect, is, I don't know, they waffle. So I don't know. That's for the archaeologists. They got to figure that out. But they say it's probably the Julian library from the gens Julia. So the gens of Caesar himself, right? It's destroyed in 79. So it's going to have, I can promise you, inside of this thing, I've already talked to the professor who did the scans.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's at Kentucky.
Okay.
SEALs. And he's a nice guy, really nice guy. And he said, no, this is all going to be made public. Right, public access. So I've already got a team of people, shout out to the followers of Lady Babylon, who are ready to transcribe and translate. I guarantee you, I promise you.
How close do you think AI is to translating Greek? And how accurate do you think it could possibly get?
I just had a conversation with Dr. Ruck about that, just a short one, and it's gonna happen. Yeah, even if they feed it the lexicon, it depends on what they feed her. Right, like Mary nourished in the temple. Did you know Mary was being fed by angels?
So just as an aside, I'm not super optimistic about AI's ability to do much of anything. Every time they appeal to AI, I'm just like, yeah, good luck, guys. Keep working. But anyway.
Do you remember the Bible verse I was telling you that before the podcast in Jeremiah chapter 49? It actually brings this up.
What up?
The AI.
Well, quote the verse so people know what you're referring to.
Hold on.
So I don't think he actually knows Ruck. I think he's just appealing to Ruck for the AI thing. So maybe there's nothing there as far as that connection. I'm just trying to figure out what ideology this guy subscribed to, who's influencing him, where's he getting his ideas. 'Cause I just don't have any context for this fella.
Well, Bob Larson called him out. He's influencing himself. He rewrote the Bible into his book, and
so he's got his own ideas about how drugs were used, and he's reading his biblical interpretation based on drugs.
Basically, yes.
Well, that seems like you're kind of putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
So
he's teaching people all this stuff.
Well, it's kind of like.
And I did find a connection between.
Go for it, Cody.
Herculaneum. So they found a house that's been excavated at Herculaneum, and it was built in a Corinthian style.
Okay.
So there's a connection there between the Corinth and what he's talking about.
Well, if that was like an industry, that would make sense. I mean,
I don't think it was in the same place.
Yeah.
They weren't in the same places,
Yeah.
but maybe a little spillover civilization.
well, maybe they
there.
just were responsible for different things in the production process. Like maybe somebody made the dye and then somebody dyed the clothing or something like that. You know?
Sure, yeah.
Trevor, what's the verse?
So the verse is, it's a Jeremiah chapter 49. Jeremiah was a prophet of the Lord. And it says, it's a message about Ammon. That's the title. This message was given concerning the Ammonites. This is what the Lord says. It's Jeremiah 49, 1 through, I'll go to 6. This message was given concerning the Ammonites. This is what the Lord says. Are there no descendants of Israel to inherit the land of Gad? Why are you who worship Molech living in its towns? In the days to come, says the Lord, I will sound the battle cry against your city of Rabbah. It will become a desolate heap of ruins, and the neighboring towns will be burned. Then Israel will take back the land you took from her, saith the Lord. Cry out, O Heshbon, for the town of Ai is destroyed. Weep, O people of Rabbah. Put on your clothes of mourning, weep and wail, hiding in the hedges, for your god Molech with his priests and officials will be hauled off to distant lands. You're proud of your fertile valleys, but they will soon be ruined.
Well, I'm not seeing a connection to AI.
The town of AI?
Like,
he said the
A
town of
or
AI.
something like that. I or something like that's probably not something that we need to read a double meaning into, I would think, because I'm not seeing any for one thing, I don't think that's how you should read the Bible, but for another thing, I'm not seeing any context clues that would even give you a comparison to think it's AI metaphorically. So, like, it's just talking.
Okay.
I do think that Ammon probably chose that chapter because Moloch, and he wants to take off his dad or something. But
no, this is what I was listening to earlier today, and I come across it, and I was like,
that is
that's
weird. That is weird.
I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know, AI is a product of non-creativity. It's just repetition.
Plagiarism,
right?
yeah. It's a glorified switchboard.
Yeah. So I mean, the more you get into the demon realm and away from God, the less creative you are, and the more you repeat things. So I mean, philosophically, it
I
checks
could
out.
see that, actually, yeah.
Because the Ammonites were, fucked.
I can see what you're saying. There is no creativity in AI, and demons aren't inherently creative either. So there's that parallel.
Yeah.
Do we want to go on? Let's. Okay, we've been on this guy for about an hour and 10 minutes, and I kind of want to see what he says about Christ. That was so unnerving.
Okay.
So let's wrap this up by listening to his, I'm sure, going to be so authoritative claims on that subject.
let's see, skip on.
So
It
we got the Christ. Dollars to donuts. He's going to do some appeal to Christ consciousness or some sort of new age crap.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, go to the Christ.
Let's just see
two
what he
things
says.
there.
Hey, look, another ad. Maybe AI brought it on.
Let's go.
Okay, so the first depiction of Christ was a man being crucified with a donkey head.
Correct.
And so,
Yes,
so
because
who?
the Romans were making fun of Christians and putting a donkey head on
Yeah.
Christ's body. It's like the first
You mean
graffiti.
like Paul?
Huh?
Like Paul was making
No,
fun
no,
of-
it was some Roman citizen drew it on the wall to make fun.
I'm just messing with you.
All right. Well, I never know. You always get me so easily. So, yeah, no, it's just like a picture of graffiti. It's like Titus Kennedy has a picture of it. It's interesting. So it's just graffiti.
Gotcha.
Was Jesus Christ?
Yeah, Christ is a title.
Christ is a title.
Yeah, Christ is a title. Yeah, and it's
For
a
the Jewish Messiah. So, yes.
pharmaceutical term. It's the
Christ is a
Pharmaceutical term.
pharmaceutical term.
where you put,
in Greek.
Yeah, yes, and it means I have several examples of it to show you, but it means you can perform an incrustation. They called it, where I give you a drug. What you'll see me do is I'll spit on the ground. Yeah, I'll spit on the ground and I'll use a combination of earth and spittle, my own spittle. Why am I spitting? Did you know Jesus walked up and spit in people's faces?
I thought you said Christ was just a. I
No,
didn't.
he spit in the dirt and made a salve for one guy and one miracle. But okay, so he's saying that Christ has the term has some sort of pharmaceutical connection. So
Yeah.
let's see if we can go to Strong's and verify that. Unless he's using some other source.
The only thing I can think of is like Christos fluid, which I'm not even sure what that is. So.
And as far as I know, he's claiming it from the Greek text itself. That's what it's saying.
Christos.
Christ.
All right, come on, show me the term. So we got the Strong's Concordance here. I'm sure he's going to go, that ain't the right source. This is a source that I think is more verifiable, even though you've never heard it before. So original word in the Greek, it's a noun, masculine, translation, Christos, Christ, anointed one, Messiah. Anointed one, the Messiah, the Christ. Derived from the Greek verb kreo, meaning to anoint. So to anoint with oil. That checks with the Jewish culture. This is just referring to the Jewish prophecy.
I guess you could infer that some kind of anointing with oil would be taking a drug.
He's got to be making some kind of weird reach with that. Like, just completely ignoring Jewish culture. Because, when a prophet or a king somebody who was going to be indwelled with the Holy Spirit, was sent before a judge
he's
or a
just taking
prophet,
it-
they would anoint them with oil. So
So he's just taking it out of
yeah,
context,
he's just
basically.
pretending like the
He has to be.
because he's just pretending like the Jews
there's-
don't exist. That's the only thing I could think of, because I'm like, where in the world are you?
That's what most people do.
Yeah. So that's so goofy. All right, let's see if he says something to elaborate here.
He was an actual person?
In the text. Who is he in the text?
Who is he? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's most important.
That, boys and girls, is called a qualifier. You remember how I rant about qualifiers? See, it's not in the Greek.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the text, in the story, allegorically, which means I'm going to say whatever the crap I want. And it's going to be, it's interpretation. It's all subjective.
And
Okay.
that text is going to show us history, right? You can say what you want about the text as long as we're translating it accurately. So what is the text? Because the text is our evidence. This is science, man. I refuse to give over the discipline.
science. You got to trust the science.
Trust the science. Dr. Fauci. Take my pharmacia shot.
It'll solve your problems. It'll be great. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
The humanities people. It needs to be taken by the scientists. Linguistics is a science. I'm not a linguist. I'm a classical philologist.
What's the difference?
Linguists do general
Philologist.
stuff, right? Like
remember
how
that's
language acts under certain circumstances, or
Okay.
it's the basic mechanics.
Allegra was a linguist.
Yeah, classicists do just Greek, and then there are some that do Latin.
Okay.
What do you say? Classicist philologist?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not. He said classical philologist, and then he said classicist.
Okay, let's look up the term.
He's like making shit
I
up.
think you're right. So, classical
philologist.
philology. That's actually a term. Let's see what that says, boys and girls. All right. Let's see. Starting with the practical reason in Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Object of the calculated part of the soul. These are articles. I want the definition, guys. Come on, stop it. Philology. Let's see if this actually. Here we go. This is from Harvard.
Pergamum. Oh, it's from the Library of Alexandria, which allegedly burned down, and we know nothing about. Surprise,
Yeah,
surprise.
Alexandria, the Gnostics. It's always Alexandria. It always goes back to those guys. Anyway.
Alexandria is a scapegoat in every situation.
Yeah, okay, you're telling me how to get to the degree. What is it? Okay, so we're getting the qualifications, what you need for classical philology. What is classical philology? Thank you, Chicago or University of Chicago.
I'll be
All right,
right
let's read
back.
this article really quick to try to figure out.
Have a beautiful time.
Yeah. Have a beautiful time with whatever you're doing. Classical philology. This is an article by the University of Chicago. What is classical philology? Classical philology has been internationally respected. Classical philology has been an internationally respected journal for the study of life, languages, and thought of the ancient Greek and Roman world since 1906. 1906! Nothing suspicious about that era when it comes to academia. All right, I wonder if it came out of New York. Anyway, CP covers a broad range of topics, including studies that illuminate aspects of the language, literatures, history, art, philosophy. You're just rambling now. Okay, it's like how the Greeks and Romans viewed stuff.
So it's like their perceived perspective of how the Romans viewed the
Yeah,
world.
and interpretation. This is what we think they thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's stupid.
it's perfectly set up to be completely subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, because was it Glenn Beck called the progressive era? Yeah. So more of the same. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know.
So he's full
Yeah.
of shit. Surprise, surprise.
Well, it's so weird because I'm like just now getting into the study of all this, and it's like the same era, the same group. It's Alexandria, it's the early 1900s, it's New York, it's just the same stuff popping up over and over again. Are you ready, Mr. Trevor?
Sorry
you're
about
good.
that. I had to turn my heater on. I'm starting to shiver.
Oh, it's all right.
Christ.
Yeah, so it's a drug term, and it means to be putting that thing in your eye. Can I show you some?
So to Christ or to christen means to put drugs in your eyes.
Originally, yeah.
Originally.
Verify it. Yeah, we need
So is it
proof.
dirt or drugs? He said it was dirt.
Yeah, he said
What
it was
is he
dirt
talking
a
about?
second ago. Then he said it was you spat in your face another second ago. Now it's medicine in the eyes. Okay, we just looked up the Strongs and it said you're full of it. So you need to actually provide a competing source, dude.
Okay. So how did this
Well, I have a cool tattoo on my
get
head.
turned into
Pretty cool.
the
that.
person
Means
everybody
Babylon, so I'm on the edge.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The lady.
tale. Let me-
Yeah.
For example, you can talk about the age of the apostles, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody gets in their mind the images of bearded adult men, right? People don't realize those are teenagers.
The apostles. We're talking about the picture of like Jesus with the apostles at the Last Supper.
Yeah, notice they're all bearded men.
They're all bearded men, yeah.
Yeah. What happened? Because the original description, he's constantly calling them children, and they aren't. Yeah. And
In the original description, who's constantly calling
okay,
the,
so like James and John are two of Jesus's boys.
Yes.
He picked them up one day on a boat.
What do you mean boys? Like they're his
This is where
This guy
I started.
sucks.
Yeah,
So
this is
bad.
where I was like, okay, I'm gonna.
We've already talked about this. Children is an analogy for doctrine, for like adoption, like imputation. Again, we're just going to pretend like the Jewish culture isn't a thing. It doesn't exist. That's not a,
So
it's not a deal.
How is he going to assume the age of?
It doesn't say. We
did-
know John was the youngest, mostly because I think he was the last. Well, he like was the only one to survive, but he died like almost at 100 AD, so he had to be really young when all this took place. Everybody else was much older, like because they died way sooner.
Wasn't James's Jesus James
Well,
Jesus'
there's two
brother?
James. There's James. There might have been more than two actually. There's James, son of Zebedee, and then there's James, Jesus' brother. So there's two different ones because they had that culture. Les Huff talked about it a little bit in one of these videos we did. They used a lot of the same names. That's why you have Peter or Simon of Cyrene or Simon, who was also called Peter. Like when you see those qualifiers in there, it's because those names were used a lot. So you have like Mary Magdalene and then Mary of Bethany or something like that. Like there's multiple Marys, there's multiple Simons. Like they use the same name a lot in that time. So he needs to cite something because there's like a million sources that would say he was wrong. Certainly on the Christ meaning something to do with pharmacy thing. Like
He's a narrative.
or like
he's a narrative. Yeah, I agree. He's just making it up.
they're his children.
Yeah, what do? That's the question. They end up together a lot with boys in tombs.
With boys in tombs.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you talking about? What?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, good job with the subtle toning. That was, about as subtle as a train. Not dropping any hints there. I know you think you're cute, but it's just obnoxious, but okay. I have no idea what he's talking about with the tomb thing, though. Like,
I think he gets into it and takes it somewhere. Like he's actually convincing this guy, Danny. He's actually convinced him because Danny's not, he's not religious.
yeah, apparently not. So,
And there's actually a part two, kind of another interview that gets more dark than what this one does.
yeah, he needs to cite a source.
Multiple
I thought-
documents show that.
Oh, lots of documents. That's his site sourcing, guys. There's lots of
of them, yeah.
documents.
Just trust the science.
Yeah, I think they actually do cite a few things.
It's all
they
the
talk-
documents, guys. We got the
Sounds
studies.
like Sounds like Alex Jones. I have the documents.
At least he has the
just kidding.
courtesy of putting the documents in front of the camera so you can see his document.
I'm just
I
messing
know.
with you.
Oh, okay.
Have Saint Cyril coming out of one of these graveyards with a bunch of venom, it says, bleeding out his.
What?
And a
What?
What are you quoting? What are you talking about, man?
couple of prostitutes with him. Right?
Right.
Yeah. Every Heracles has his Hylas.
What was
Cite a source. I don't even know what you're. Are we still in the Gospels? Is he talking about
what's
it?
a
I have no
Hylas?
idea. Like, are we?
Heracles is, I think he's inferring Heracles as Hercules, and which would be the same archetype as Jesus. What's a Hylas?
Maybe you've made the most coherent connection of the night. He's just saying stuff. Like, I have no idea. Like, are we still in the Gospels? Is he referencing something else? Like, what is he talking about?
Yeah, he starts jumping all over the
Yeah.
place to convince.
Yeah.
Hylas was a young man who served Heracles as a companion and servant in classical
Ah,
mythology.
so he's going with the pedophile thing. That's how he's doing it. Okay. Or the
Yeah.
P word. I think YouTube doesn't like that term. But anyway.
Yeah, they don't. They actually bleep that out.
how common was prostitution in these cultures back then, in the society?
Define.
How was prostitution viewed, and how ubiquitous was prostitution? And what was it looked down upon? Was it just an accepted part of society, kind of like drugs were?
Oh God, we got to go to Cyprus. We got to go to Cyprus and worship Aphrodite, where once a year, your wife has two choices. Either she can shave her head and stay with you, or she can go to the public forum and pick up one of the local sailors and with him all night, not thinking about you, and come back the next day and be completely healed. Yeah. That's the
I believe that.
devotion. That's
But
the devotion.
is that
to-
why his head's shaved? Because he's somebody's bitch boy?
No, he's talking about the worship of Aphrodite.
There was an Aphrodite
Right, I
cult.
get it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was under the impression that the men had more trouble with that than the women. In fact, the story I was told, and I saw this on another YouTube channel, so I don't know. I haven't verified it. But I was under the impression that basically one of the reasons that the Christian church had more women than men in the beginning was because the women were really all about the modesty, rules in the Bible. Like, men actually had to stay with their wives. But, well, that really conflicted with the Aphrodite cult because those men would go and sleep with those prostitutes, and they thought it was fine. And there's a book, From Shame to Sin. I don't remember the name of the author, but you look up the book From Shame to Sin. It talks about the sexual morals of Rome. And the way that they looked at it was the men were... So, just so you know, this guy's, what he's saying is completely clashing with this book. Like, this book says the complete opposite. Women were expected to stay in the home and be strictly loyal to a husband, according to this book. And the men were allowed to run around because it was like part of being a man. You had to be virile, as it were. It was like half the definition of masculinity sort of thing. But the women didn't have that problem, so their job as women was to stay loyal. So I don't think the Aphrodite cult benefited the women all that much. I think it was more for the men, from what I understand, because they had this idea that kind of not too dissimilar to what we've got, where you had to have so many, I guess you would say, notches on the bedpost or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you had to sleep around a lot if you were to be a masculine, manly man or whatever. And, they were pretty... Like, Rome was all about this particular definition of masculinity. According to this YouTube channel that I was watching, for example, one of the reasons that they had all the Greek statues of, like, long curly hair was, and the Romans had short cropped hair, was because that was the Romans' way of saying, you're girly men, you're not even real people, that's why we beat you. So It was like having the Greeks with long hair was like trash talk, which is another reason why Paul said it's a shame for a man to have long hair, because in that culture, that was how the Romans shamed people. So this guy, what he's saying, like women, from what I understand, there's no way they'd be allowed to do that, like at all. Like they would be killed. Men could do it, but women couldn't. That's the way I understand it. Again, if I'm full of crap, look up the book From Shame to Sin and prove I'm full of crap. But anyway. So, do we want to go on? All right.
Sure.
That Aphrodite, remember, the Romans are children of Venus. So this is embedded. This woman-centric, gorgeous goddess, this is part of their medical system. It's part of their healing. And so those, you asked me about later, those, the Christians would call them prostitutes. And that's where you and I get our term of prostitute from.
Okay.
And the negative, you would never, these are priestesses of Aphrodite. You have made sacred the institution of.
Why would the wives have to go have with sailors? And who were the sailors?
I don't know. Sometimes you get the need.
Who were the sailors?
Look, they come in and they go. And it's a religious festival. If you have a problem with that, that's between
full of
you
it,
and
man.
your wife.
Like, this is why he needs to cite a source, because literally everything I've read on this subject says this dude is 110% wrong. Like,
yeah, he's like, look, I don't know, but just listen. I mean, come on,
yeah, come on, man. It's just true. Come on. Don't question me. What are you doing? So.
I mean, look at my tattoo.
Yeah,
on
that
my
means
head.
I'm super
I mean,
serial. Like those are my creds.
Speaking of that, I didn't know Medea was the queen of Babylon.
That doesn't.
It makes me real skeptical of those.
Tyler Perry's
who's
character.
that guy that makes them movies. Yeah.
It's like
real skeptical.
Yeah, this isn't looking good for Tyler Perry. He may need to rename her or something.
Yeah. Reevaluate. Yeah.
Well, I thought of maybe, Medusa.
Maybe.
Medea, Medusa.
Yeah, there's that.
Kind of a connection
Good
there.
connection.
There, that could be.
Now, what kind of instruction does that give to the people, to the men on Cyprus?
What kind of instruction?
What do you learn from that kind of religious festival, where once a year your wife gets to go have with whomever she wants?
You learn that you're a cuck.
Are the wives wanting to do this?
Yeah, I don't like I said, I don't think there's any way the men in Rome would allow that. Like, again, from what I understand about that culture, you did not want to be Jack from Will and Grace in that Roman society. Like, you would die very quickly. Like, they had homosexuality, but even that was like tied to like male masculine virulence. You were dominating another man type of thing. So you did not want to be effeminate in any way. So this does not mesh with anything I've read, like, at all.
Yeah, doesn't check out.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to ask them when they're doing it. But since they all come back with smiles.
It says that? They come back with smiles?
No, I made up they come back with smiles. But they do it every year. And you only have one choice. Shave your head and enter. And why do they say shave your head? Because that shows
Like
that you're
you.
in a sign of mourning. That you're mourning the loss of Adonis. That you're mourning that. So you stay with your husband. You see the loyalty? She's loyal to him even in death. The women who keep their hair, that's resurrection, baby. Right? They're out there. This is Easter. Yeah. Yeah. Does that kid look exactly like you?
I can't stand this guy.
I know, he's driving me up the wall. I think the other guy, judging by the other guy's face, I'm thinking he's going, dude, this guy's full of crap.
Trevor, I don't think you're right. I don't think he's convincing Danny.
Yeah,
Boy of
I'm
anything.
not sure he is. That face says, what is wrong with this guy?
Well, in the second interview Danny has with him, he has converted Danny. Like, Danny's like talking with him about the drugs and the stuff. Like, and they're
I don't know. I guess you can fall into that. What's that? Who's that guy that Joe Rogan talks about all the time?
Oh,
The mushroom and the cross guy.
I don't know.
Zachariah Sitchin, is that right?
You got me, man. I have no idea.
I don't know.
It sounds like that shit.
Yeah,
But just like a different brand.
you're probably right. I don't know.
I
Maybe,
don't know. This
yeah,
guy's
maybe he
terrible.
like drugged Danny's coffee, and Danny was like,
Maybe.
"You know what? You're really
He
convincing."
put some Christ in his
Yeah,
coffee.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Good
I
night.
have part 2 pulled up here if you want me to send it to you.
Oh, I think maybe next week, but we're knocking on past half an hour, so let's finish this subject of stupidity. Move on. I think we've thoroughly established this dude is a disappointment. He hasn't cited a single source, can't verify anything he says, and what we have looked at, at least what I know, studying this in passing, because Greg's like the major. I've absorbed a lot of Roman culture history from Greg, but based even what I know, this guy's full of it. There's no way this is right. So,
Yeah.
anyway, all right, let's see here.
Brothers.
Huh.
Yeah. Children of Aphrodite, right? Sons of God. These are Romans. That's what the Romans called themselves, right? Offspring of Aphrodite herself. It's gorgeous. Once you have access to these texts,
You know what else
you'll
is
be
gorgeous? Syphilis. Anyway.
surprised. It'll open up a whole new world that is the actual
And that world is
history.
called syphilis. We're going to end this episode from here. I'm done with this guy. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know much about history, but what I do know, that guy literally conflicted with all of it. So, look up the book Shame from Sin. That book by itself should be
Good
enough.
job, Whiteman.
Yeah. Go back to Babylon or wherever it is you came from. So,
Yeah.
all right. Anybody got any final thoughts?
I don't think so. I just
No,
want to kick that guy in the balls.
Yeah.
That's apt.
My thing is, just be careful with who you're following, because this guy is actually convincing people.
These people need to learn to read.
Well, they're really
Like-
dumb.
Like
They're really dumb.
he's got a whole YouTube channel, and he's teaching people this
What's
stuff.
his YouTube channel? I'm gonna look it up. Is it called?
Oh, Gary's caught. He's
Oh,
converted.
oh, yeah.
Gary's been
That or I
converted.
need content.
Lady Babylon 666.
Lady Babylon. Oh. Very
This
true.
guy is a provocateur.
Yeah.
There is nothing else to call
It's a
him.
very trustworthy academic source. So.
Wait, go back up.
What
going,
your
keep going.
pastor didn't tell you, dude. You need to crawl in a hole.
Keep going.
Myth Vision
that's it.
podcast. Exposing a fake Greek. Oh, we are gonna do this. Oh.
I saw war.
Change of plans.
I saw war.
Change of plans, because this guy, I know he's full of crap. So let's actually hear somebody who knows what they're talking about say he's full of crap. After I look at this ad. So, change of
I
plans.
saw.
I'm making this is a 4-hour thing. Holy moly. We'll only do part of it. But okay, so we did an hour and a half reacting to this guy. So we're gonna do another half hour debunking this clown. Like, I'm like, we're gonna let somebody else do it, but I am telling you, this dude is full of it. What, were you gonna say something, Trevor?
I think this is debunking that second part video.
Okay, well that's just fine. That's just fine because they got their things. We'll start with the abysmal methodology mistranslation. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Maybe that. We just need something that's generally.
Ammon Hillman. Sorry, I'm just looking at his name. Hillman. What's that mean to you, Gary?
There's a man on a hill.
Right. Where did Satan take Jesus to?
Well, there you go. I'm telling you, this dude's mad at his father.
He's like archetypally
Yeah.
evil.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
All right. Let's see.
Hey, Jen's in the chat.
Hi,
What
Jen.
Up, Jen?
When did she jump in?
It's good to see
now,
you.
I think.
we're gonna start with mistranslation.
Just making fun of Satan here.
Oh, hey,
Yeah, well, Satan knockoff. I'm pretty sure the devil's laughing at this guy. Go, look at this maroon. Totally got him.
Yeah, old Wormwood's not happy, or not Wormwood. What's his name?
Worm tongue.
No,
That's what I'm
Lord of the
thinking.
Rings.
Worm tongue.
No, the C.S. Lewis. What's the demon that's higher up on the hierarchy, in charge of Wormwood?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't.
Screw tape.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Screw tape's laughing at this guy. He's like, "Come on."
I taught him ancient Greek. What a moron. All right, yeah, you're right, Jid. We're gonna talk about the Babylon, I guess. Yeah, Ammon Hillman, dude. We're gonna debunk him for a minute here. Just because, this dude's annoying me. We haven't seen you in a while either. I hope you are well.
Yeah, how you doing?
Okay, here we go.
In Greek.
Mistranslation.
Are you the only one that's translating this stuff this way? Are you the
Yes.
No, there's other people.
No, I'm just the first one to have guts to do it.
Are there other classicists or linguists who can
We paused and appreciate that. I'm the only one who's had the nerve to translate it wrong. I'm the first.
So they are going after the first.
Okay, good. Oh man.
who have translated these same texts you are and corroborating what you're saying?
Yeah, Dr. Ruck, for example, and that's why I always throw him out as my corroborator. Dr. Ruck will tell you, because he and I translated Apocalypse together, and I showed him my breakdown and outline of it. And so he can tell you, all I'm doing is translating. I'm not, none of this stuff is made up. It's just straight up translations. But it's translations coming from somebody who's actually read the medical side.
If you haven't joined us yet, that's literally not true. We just showed in the Strong's Concordance, he's not getting the word Christos even close to right. There's nothing to do with pharmakia. He can't even decide if like pharmakia means like medicine or spitting in your face, like, or dirt. Like this dude can't even figure out what his definition of pharmakia is.
He won't put a definition on anything. He's like, Jin, Wormwood is an asteroid. It's also the name of the demon in C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters, and it's also the thing in Revelation. What is it? Like wood that gets in the water and makes the water
like
bitter
there's an asteroid that hits
something.
it, and I think there's like wormwood in it or something, and it corrupts the water, if I remember correctly.
But it's actually a medicine or something, isn't it?
That I don't know.
I think you can actually go out like to a supplement store and buy wormwood, if I'm not mistaken, and parasites don't like it, which is interesting.
There you go. That might be interesting. Yeah.
And read the science side and can talk about what the terms are actually doing. This is the battle I've been fighting. Nobody reads
Okay, message to all you charlatans out there. Stop using the word science because everybody's pretty much assuming science is full of garbage since 2020. So you might want to quit appealing to that for a while. It's kind of nuked its own credibility for a little bit. So just a thought.
Indeed.
For a lot of bit.
It's also another way to spell seance.
There you go. That's actually a good catch. You know, of all the connections you've made, I believe that one the most. So
the science is the seance of life.
Yeah, there you go.
Bible anymore. That people need to read the Bible, right? Because there's a kid with Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? Raise your hand if you've heard of the kid with Jesus. Look, it's only a couple people.
Okay, what he's talking about is during the arrest in Gethsemane, the guards, like it was a violent encounter. There was a struggle. And at some point during that struggle, somebody ripped the kid's cloak off. And they tried to say that there was like an undergarment, but there's like a debate back and forth, like whether these guys actually like back then wore undergarments or whether they were actually like they didn't have undergarments, so they were actually naked when they ripped their cloak off. Bottom line is, though, the word's translated as naked. So one of the guards like ripped the guy's clothes off as he was running away. And we don't know who it was. So that's what that's in reference to. So Anyhow.
Sorry, young man. Young man with Jesus. Yeah, sorry. The name. To me, he's a kid, right? But yeah. No, this is a younger. This is not a.
To me, he's a kid.
The age group that Dr. Ruck is referring to is how the kid is. He's a naniscus.
And no, he just goes right back to using the word kid. Because it's not about the truth. It's about planting the idea in your head. So he'll just repeat it.
He's a narrative.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
He's being very theatrical, yes.
Yep.
That's what Jen said. I like how theatrical he is.
Is he?
Naniscos. Somewhere around puberty.
won't let
Could
him
be a
get
little
away
bit
with it.
before. Scholars will argue about how late.
Somewhere around puberty. But someone give me some information. How long does it take to go through puberty? What is that, like 5 years? 3 years? Does anybody remember?
Well, I'm still going through it, so.
Yeah, I'm on like year 20, bro.
Yeah, some of us never grow up, do we?
Goes.
Oh, what a
Whatever.
weird dude.
You're exactly right. It's about puberty, right? And that's where his range is. So they're using these drugs, and that's what's disturbing. This is where it kind of gets disturbing. It reminds me of the touching of Jesus when he touched the little children. And Dr. Ruck can verify this, so you don't think I'm a quack. The word that the Greek uses, remember the situation is Jesus is touching children. Parents are coming to the disciples and saying, make him stop touching the children.
There's
right?
the text,
And then he's
people.
like, they come
There
to
it
him, they're
is.
like, they don't want you to touch the children anymore. And he's like, he gets upset and he's like, you're going to scandalize this whole situation. What are you doing? That word for touch is the same word that's used for. So there's this fine, it can just be regular touching, but it's also stroking. It's also stroking.
What the?
So is
Stroke
there something
me.
about the feeling?
Again, this
Toys
guy
R
just
Us.
pretends like the Jewish culture never existed. Like throughout the entire Old Testament, they're laying hands on people for prayer. Like,
It's kind of been a theme of him the whole time because he only looks at Greek text. He doesn't look at Hebrew.
yeah, it's like this took place in Jerusalem, you moron. What's the matter with this guy? Jen says, I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. Indeed.
You must be as children to enter the kingdom of heaven. So
I hate this guy.
Based.
I hate this guy so much.
yeah, he's terrible. Stupid, baldy.
Within the religious context.
I just want to
of the
point out that throughout all these clips, you've noticed how his speech is just slurred more and more and more. This dude needs to quit using drugs. You're dying, sir. You're dying. So,
That or he's manifesting more and more.
well, that's a very embarrassing demon if he's manifesting. So,
Yeah. Oh, he's getting less and less afraid to, be more open.
yeah.
feeling and the feet with the hair and I think there is. Was he touching was he children, Carl Ruck?
The stories told about Jesus, people telling the stories, we're not trying to say that Jesus was children.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Case
I mean, it
closed.
was just for some reason the parents wanted him to stop touching. Why do you think the parents wanted him to stop touching the children in a way that would scandalize him?
That's not how that goes. Like, the parents didn't say anything. From what I understand, the disciples were getting annoyed because all the kids were running around. Like, they thought they were aggravating Christ, So I don't remember the parents doing anything or playing any part in the story at all.
No, the apostles were the ones that were like, "Hey, kids, get out of here,"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Jesus said, "Let them come."
Yeah.
All right.
First, you're
this
talking
guy
about.
sucks.
Just look up Jesus touching children. It's in one of the Gospels. Probably more than one.
Oh, but you're talking about when he's in the garden and he has the.
I think it's John. When we started this process, I told you, congregation, the devil told me, you can't lie to them at all. And I was like, not at all. Even just once, like maybe if I don't want somebody's feelings to get hurt? And he said, no, 0. And I said, why? And he said, because your credibility will be very important. And they
The
will
devil
try
told him he couldn't lie.
to break you through your credibility.
The great deceiver.
If they can't, he
Told
said
him he couldn't
they will
lie.
put words in your mouth. Right? I have no arguments for you. I have no opinions. You can quote me as saying nothing that thou shouldst do or not do anything. Yeah.
What?
Thou
Here,
shouldst.
We serve the text, baby. This is the museum. We serve the text. Now, I'm going to give you my translation, which is going to differ from modern, or at least classically important translations.
What? It's different? No kidding. What a shock. It's different. What? No.
Show you. One of them's by Browning. Here's the Browning translation.
I thought it was his translation.
Yeah, and here and there, heaven high, the torch uplifts, flame medicated with persuasions mild, with foul admixture unbeguiled of holy unguent, from the clotted chrism, brought from the palace, safe in its abysm.
He's very.
By the way, Robert Browning made up that word, right? Which is something, yeah, he did. Chewy's looking at me like, are you kidding? No, he had to find something to rhyme chrism, right? So he just made it up. But I'm going to give you my translation, right? So
you're going to make your own up.
Here and there, this very tall Amazonian. What is she doing? She's waving her torches because these are night rites that the priesthoods are involved in, right? You realize, right? We caught her right in the act of the rites. And what is she? Look at that fourth line down. Pharmasomene. Pharmasomene. Covered with drugs, under the influence of drugs. What kind of drugs? The royal drug.
So every time he says oil, it's drugs. I can't imagine why people are like, you need to take this drug stuff out of your dissertation. It's because it's completely wrong. It's like, that's not what that word means at all.
Right.
That's insane. Yeah. Wow.
And people are believing this guy.
Yeah.
100%.
Who's people?
His followers, for one.
Are they on drugs?
They are.
Probably. I don't know. But
I mean, if you believe this guy, you deserve what's coming to you. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you want to see deception.
Here's a Bible word for you to learn. Here's the term of the day: willingly ignorant. Good night.
Willingly ignorant. We're there.
Lie to me harder, Daddy.
Well, what's happening is, you got TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and people are making shorts of just small parts of his teaching.
Well, here's some advice. Read a book. I mean, good night.
Nobody's doing any research for themselves. They're just, this guy said Jesus was a pedophile. I'm going with that.
Yeah, because they want to.
They need to get the hell off of TikTok.
Yeah, like, you're never going to learn anything in the 30-second clip, guys. That's just... Why would you even be on a medium like that? That's like saying you got your dissertation from Twitter. It's just, why? Oh. Yeah. All right.
I hate short form.
I do too. I've regretted that they keep trying to push the short form. But the podcasts are making people smarter. That's why they're doing it. Which is...
I think he reads too many.
What?
Jen said, LOL, I think he reads too many.
He reads too many. Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, we got another 10 minutes before our 30 minutes are up, so let's keep going.
Okay.
That comes from her innermost recesses. The holy Christing. Powered by that painkiller.
So is he I guess from this he's equivocating oil with Christ as well.
Yeah.
That's insane.
The anointing. Yeah.
That's
the anointing.
insane.
Causes us to be softened. She is covered with the drugs. She is Christing. She is Christing. What is that pharmac? So I just want you to be in there. I want you to be in there and realize it means treat by using pharmaca, generally treat, right? And it talks about Homer. So it goes all the way back to Homer. We got it connected with Methu, which is where we get drunken or intoxicated. And it means number 2, to enchant or bewitch by potions or filters. Now remember, when they say enchant or bewitch, they've taken you into the back alley.
There
right?
it is.
That enchantment.
That's his
that
source.
enchantment is
what we
a
just saw.
change to your mental state. And remember
LSJ
what these
refutes
people
him.
like Clytemnestra are doing.
LSJ tells
They're
you.
putting
Yeah.
the purple in their hair.
Hillman's blatant mistranslation of Aeschylus should give anyone pause if they take him seriously as a classicist. Here his translation is describing Clytemnestra as being covered with drugs and under the influence of drugs. Hillman insinuates that the antecedent of the adjective pharmasomeni is Clytemnestra, and his translation reflects this. He says that Clytemnestra is covered with drugs, under the influence of drugs. That is not the case. He translates chrima as Christing, even though that is completely nonsensical. If you look at the complete text of Agamemnon, lines 83 to 96, it becomes very clear that Clytemnestra cannot be the antecedent of the adjective pharmasomeni. Anyone can clearly see that the antecedent is lambas. And if you look at any standard translation from Browning or Summerstein or Smith, they all display an awareness that the antecedent of medicined or flame medicated is the flame itself. It's the torch itself. The LSJ entry makes this explicitly clear.
Apelthon es ta opiso kai episan hamai. Yeah, so they said, "Are you Jesus?" He said, "I am." And it says they went around to his back. They circled him. They went around him so he couldn't get away. And episan hamai, they fell on him. They attacked. The Greek uses this for falling all the time. All the time. The one enemy falls upon another. So they surround him and they take him. They start to arrest him. They grab him.
In John 18:6, episan chame simply means fell to the ground. It doesn't mean they fell on top of Jesus. This is confirmed by simply looking up the definition of chame, on the ground. There's no documented usage to support the interpretation of fell on in the sense of attack. In John 9:6, Jesus spit on the ground, eptisen chame, and made mud from the saliva and applied epechrisen, the mud, to his eyes. Here it's epichrio, to rub on the surface.
All right, after
I
this
grew
ad,
up
let me
here.
point something out here.
And so did a lot of the girls work in the avenue.
Okay, like
In Mark
just
8,
even
20
by this guy's weird logic, like it should be very evident he's just making stuff up, because if you're going to make some sort of weird equivocation with mud and medicine like you did in the previous video, the word that's used in that verse, forgive me, I don't know how they said it, but the word for mud in that verse would be your medicine term, right? So obviously that doesn't show up anywhere near the word like Christ at like any other point. So why would you equivocate Christ with medicine?
Right.
Yeah, so I'm this guy's
This guy sucks, man.
Well,
I don't know what else
yeah,
to
I
say.
know. We're beating a dead horse. Jen says oil make you smell pretty. I agree. So
True.
okay, well, we're a little shy, but that's okay. I'm done. This guy's wore me out. I'm
Yeah.
tired from all the stupid.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Ammon Hillman, you clearly have issues with your father. So I'm going to quote Jordan Peterson. You need to clean your room and make up with your dad. So, with that said, this is the end of part 1. Guys, we're not going anywhere. We're just ending out this session, so I don't have to edit as much. So, or it makes it easier to edit, yeah. So, anyway, with all that said, guys, this is the end of episode 1. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
You. If you're
All right,
later.
now for part 2. So,
all right, what are we doing this
we're
time?
going to do a review, a partial review, very brief review of the House of David, episode 1. I'm just going to summarize it. And then Russell and KD has like a interview with Dallas Jenkins, and I think the creator of David. And there were some interesting things said that I thought we could react to about like how Christians treat media and stuff like that. So I thought we could go 30 minutes or so on that topic and call it a night. Since we spent 2 hours.
You mind if I bounce out?
Go for it.
Night at a call.
All right, if that being said,
All right, y'all.
I need to find the correct screen really quick here.
I might be listening in the comments, but
that's fine.
I think I'm gonna go to bed.
All right, man.
All
Peace
right.
out.
Y'all enjoy your night.
We will. You as well,
Thanks
man.
for-
See ya.
Thanks for being here.
All right.
I don't know how to leave.
Get out of here.
I'm
Just take the
trying.
405.
Oh,
So you
say
can't take
bye.
it anymore. Damien will get that reference. Peace out, man. Bye. Oh, my goodness, Trevor. That was exhausting.
Interesting, wasn't it?
Yes, it was interesting. You're right. I'm glad you picked that because that was a trip. I mean,
Yeah.
just when you...
And
Sorry, go on.
part 2, that second interview,
Mm-hmm.
way worse. Way worse. You get his full round teaching, and it's just...
I can't believe anyone would like believe somebody like that. That's just insane.
Yeah, no, I actually had someone from work bring that to me. Like, they were asking me, why did Jesus pick 12 boys to follow him around? I'm like, where in the world did you get 12 boys? And they were saying that Jesus was a pedo and all that. And I'm like, okay, first of all, Matthew was not a pedo, or was not a kid. You know, he was a tax collector when Jesus came across him and told him to follow him. You'd have to be at least a certain age because you had to go to academics. Anyways, the dude was confused. He came to me completely confused. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, where did you get this? And he's like, oh, I saw a TikTok on it. And I was like, okay. Yeah, you can't believe anything biblical on TikTok at all. Like, you gotta
Yeah,
look
don't go
it
to
up.
TikTok. Why are people going to TikTok? That just floors me.
People get their full news from TikTok nowadays.
Good night.
Straight up.
Well, this is something I learned in middle school. I don't know why people still don't implement it, but you need to look at firsthand sources whenever possible. So before you like trust somebody's interpretation of the Bible, you gotta read the Bible, which is why we're always like, hey, read the chapter. Don't just read the verses we're pulling up. Make sure we're putting things in context. Like, that's just something
Yeah.
that we always talk about because you're always supposed to defer back to the firsthand source. But then again, maybe 1,500 years of scholarship is wrong, and this drug-idled soul is the only one that got it right.
Yeah. Well, this guy, you know, I asked him, I was like, why don't you just read the Bible yourself? And he gave me the regular, well, I can't understand it. You know, I just don't understand it.
You need to try, man. Like, I don't like the Alexandrian texts and like all the old modern translations, but that's better than this guy. I mean, start somewhere. Don't just take this dude's word for it. Goodness.
Yeah.
Anyway, we need to start the next episode, Trevor. Do you want to kick us in or do you want me to do it?
Jen just said something. I hadn't watched Hollywood in years. Cannot support any of them. I turned away from idols of any kind, so I shut off the boob tube and picked up YouTube. Go figure. Yeah, that's kind of what.
Yeah,
I'm at.
Hollywood's been in trouble for forever, like just forever.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll die. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Um.
Can you pull up the name of the video that we're gonna go over, and I'll do the intro?
Yes. The video, the interview we are reacting to is Ruslan KD's addressing every controversial moment from the House
you
of
got it
David
pulled up.
series. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ready?
I'm ready, sir. Go for it.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to Faith Fiction and Folklore, or the Triumph podcast, where we try not to F it up. And today, I have Gary with me. How are you?
I'm exhausted. That previous episode just about killed me. I'm dying.
Yeah, it's been a long night already, huh?
I felt it. I aged 10 years. So.
This next video we're going to do is an interview with Ruslan KD, or he's doing the interview.
Yeah, he's doing the interview, right.
Addressing every controversial moment from the House of David series.
Yeah, all right.
And from what I understand, we're going to do number 1.
Yeah, we're gonna try something here because it is faith fiction and folklore, so fiction kind of incorporates media. So I thought we would do an episodic review of the House of David series, and so I would kick off this part of the night with just a brief synopsis recap of the show, since I do reviews. It's part of how I earn bread. At least it's been that way for a while. So I'll do a brief synopsis of the show, and then we'll watch this interview. And there's some interesting points raised that I wanted to bounce off of you and see what your thoughts were. So, because, I'm into entertainment. I write fiction books as well. Hopefully they'll be published eventually. But, understanding storytelling is kind of part of what we do. So I wanted to explore what you think the balance between... How do you balance Christian ethics with storytelling, particularly when people are doing bad things? Those kinds of questions. That's stuff like that. So I wanted to have that conversation. This was a good segue into that conversation. And so we will start off with a brief synopsis of David. And I will begin by saying it's actually good. Like, yes, it's not garbage.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So it's not like the other one.
You thinking The Chosen? I think The Chosen's fine. I think it's been getting a bad rap because it's popular. I think there's a group of people, obviously there's things in translation stuff that people aren't going to agree with, but you're not going to agree with 100% of everything. And as long as people aren't going, this is the gospel canon, you're going to have to do some interpretation. Like if they start saying Peter definitely was about to lose his house, and so he really needed to catch those fish. If they start making the claim that that's canon, then you got a problem. But they just added that to kind of flesh out the story, and kind of build up to the moment where Christ allows them to catch a bunch of fish. So, I'm fine with stuff like that. Just don't claim that it's the truth. You know what I mean? Don't claim that it's in the Bible. As long as you don't do that, you're good. From my opinion. So, yeah, I expect a degree of embellishment, as it were, when you're talking about storytelling, because the fact of the matter is the novel wasn't invented till way later in history. I want to say the 1700s, but that might be wrong. Anyway, but it also depends on how you define a novel. Anyway, but...
What novel?
Well, the novel in general. I might be wrong about that. We could probably Google it. But the point is, somebody needs to Google that because I probably said something stupid. It probably wasn't the 1700s. But, you go ahead and Google that really quick because I'm pretty sure I screwed that up. But
what am I
when was the novel invented?
When was the novel? Sorry, I'm a slow typer. The 18th century.
It is the 1700s. Holy moly.
The novel originated in the early 18th century after the Italian word novella,
The word or the
which
book?
was used,
like the type of book?
The novel originated in the early 18th century after the Italian word novella, which was used for stories in the medieval period.
So novellas were used in the medieval period. Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. The point is the genre, like our storytelling expectations, like how we tell stories, what we expect in a story, you know, certain tropes, dark midnight of the soul, inciting incident, conclusion, climax, exposition, all of those tropes those things that we expect in storytelling now came later. And you're not going to have stuff like that in a world where there's scrolls and you don't, like, paper is actually expensive. So you're going to get stuff that's more straight and to the point back in ancient times because you just don't have enough room. Well, you know, we have more time for leisure and media, and we have papers like actually cheap. So, you know, that changes, it changes the way you tell stories. And so I understand adapting things. Just don't claim it's truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just like AI. Now you got to fact check AI anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Like, AI does get stuff wrong. So I'm not bothered by the extra stuff, personally. Anyway, so the story is actually good. The beginning I felt was a little lame because, you know, you've got David running towards Goliath in the opening scene, and they explain why they did that in this video of Ruslan. But their justification, basically, David's running at Goliath, and this is probably there's two really big things that people got ticked off about that were controversial. And one of them, I think, is more significant than the other from a theology standpoint. The first one is, as David is charging towards Goliath, he gets nicked with a spear. And he falls down, you know. And what they were doing was they were serving as like a cliffhanger. And they said they were doing that for two reasons. Number one, they were doing that to anchor the audience in the kind of story that was being told, because not everybody's familiar with the whole story of David, but, you know, they are familiar with David and Goliath. Pretty much everybody knows about that. So they wanted that familiar scene so everybody knew who we were talking about and all of that. The other reason, and I'm fine with that, that made sense. The other reason they said they were doing that was to kind of create tension, to have that cliffhanger in the beginning. And I kind of disagreed with the choice to do that because everybody knows the story of David and Goliath, so they know David is not going to be killed by Goliath. So there's no tension with having him getting nicked with a spear. Like, people know he's going to get up. And it's just annoying because you got to, I was like, oh, great. Now I got to wait 5 episodes to see him get up. Fantastic. And that deflates the tension in storytelling, because now it makes it seem like everything else that happens afterwards is kind of like waiting. I write about this constantly. You've got to create stakes and tension in stories. And people will, like, for example, I just got done, or I'm in the middle of, I should say, writing a review series on Terminator Genesis, which is an absolutely garbage movie that you shouldn't see under any circumstances, by the way. So that's the synopsis of all, like, 7 of my reviews, or however many there's going to be. But anyway, so the big screw-up, or one of the big screw-ups in Terminator Genesis is basically they have a robot attack John Connor, who's like humanity's future warrior or whatever. And that's not supposed to happen based on the events in the first movie. So this unexpected thing that hasn't happened in any of the other movies all of a sudden happens. And this happens right as Kyle Reese is being sent back in time, and he gets a whole bunch of new visions and memories and stuff as a result of this unexpected robot attack on John Connor. Now, that's fine, but the audience isn't supposed to know how much has changed. And so that's where the tension is. Like, we don't know what all's happened yet. And that would have been fine if they had kept with Kyle's point of view. Because then when stuff starts to change from the original movie, because the movie does actually do a good job, like doing a shot-by-shot recreation of the 1984 film, the first Terminator. So you're seeing some of the same scenes, but with slight variations. And if they'd kept it from Kyle's point of view, it would have been very tense because you didn't know what was going on. Like, at a certain point, one of the robots from a later film shows up unexpectedly. It'd be the T-1000. And it's supposed to create this sense of confusion. You know, so the audience is supposed to be just as confused and tense as Kyle is, because Kyle doesn't know what's going on, right? And the tension comes from that ambiguity. Does that make sense? Like, you don't know what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah, I have no clue what's going to happen next.
So you're supposed to be tense because you're wondering what's happening next, but then they screw up. They switch from Kyle's point of view and they go immediately to Sarah Connor's point of view. Now, from the first Terminator, Sarah Connor's a waitress. She doesn't have any skills, but this lowly, unassuming waitress is supposed to be the mother of the hero of humanity, right? Well, now Sarah Connor's this gun-toting tough chick, and she kills the first Terminator from the first movie. You've just deadened the tension, right? Because you've already exposed multiple things. You've exposed the fact that the main bogey from the first film, the original Terminator, is dead. So your main anticipated bad guy is gone. So there's no more tension there. You know Sarah is aware of the bad guys and what's going on with Skynet and all that. So Kyle Reese can no longer save Sarah Connor. So his story arc is gone. So there's nothing to care about there. Kyle's just kind of running around doing nothing. Number 3, since Sarah's aware of the situation, you know that Sarah is going to have to go save Kyle at some point since Kyle's now the one who doesn't know what's going on. So you've pretty much told everybody the next 10, 20 minutes of the film just by establishing her too soon at the beginning of the movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, and wasn't this back when everyone was kind of scared of that actually happening?
Oh, 1984? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably, like, computers were new, so I'm sure there was, like, this, anticipation about what could happen. Yeah. I'm not too impressed with AI, so I'm not super worried about it. But
well, I mean, my theory is they probably thought they weren't going to go anywhere with the movie.
Yeah.
So they just killed him off, the bad guy off to begin with, without thinking, oh, we're going to make 5 more of these.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's kind of the similar situation. Like, you already know David is going to kill Goliath. Like, so starting with that scene is not going to create any tension because your purpose for starting that scene is to ground them and tell them what's going on, what the story is. Well, if you hit David with a spear and have him fall to the ground and it looks like he's dead, well, the audience instantly knows he's not dead. They already know what's going to happen, so there's no tension. You know what I mean? So, like, in the same way, Genesis is boring because now you know the next 20 minutes of the film. You risk making the rest of the series boring. Oh, what'd I click on? Crud. Sorry, hang on. Yeah, you risk making the rest of the series boring because now we've got to wait for David to get up and fight Goliath.
And it's all
and it makes everything else... it makes everything... So it massively deflates the tension, and people are just not going to be as interested. So they really messed up in that opening scene. That's the first major problem. The next major problem is they actually made David a bastard, which is to say, Jesse slept with somebody else and was hiding David in the mountains, which is just going to tick people off. That's just confusing. Like there's no mention of that in scripture, and it doesn't say very much for Jesse. And it also kind of calls into question, because in the Jewish culture, genealogy is a big deal, and David is from a specific line. Christ's genealogy doesn't just lead up to David; it leads to Rahab, it leads to the figures in Genesis, and Lot, and everything else. I don't know if that doesn't lead to Lot, it leads to Abraham. But anyway, bottom line is that...
What?
It's Abraham. It's not Lot. Mm-hmm.
You sure? Because wouldn't that lineage from one of the girls...
No, I don't think any of those people from Lot's line are considered Jewish. It's just the line of Abraham.
Oh.
So, anyway. No, it's all right. So, calling that genealogy into question is going to irk some people who are aware of the genealogy. So, some people are going to be annoyed and kind of mad about that. So, they did it for drama. But, Hollywood drama type stuff.
Hollywood being Hollywood.
But, I wasn't too thrilled with that. I wasn't too thrilled with those decisions. I mean, they didn't, just make me so mad that I was, indignant or whatever. But, you know, you kind of roll your eyes a little bit when you see it.
And I'll just add to this. A lot of people don't understand that David used a sling, not a slingshot, a sling. Because, you know, disprovers, you know, they show slingshots, and there's no possible way you could kill someone with a slingshot. Well, David didn't use a slingshot.
Is there really?
In those days, people are trying to disprove the story of David and Goliath. Bad intro's on. Why aren't you all in bed? Church in the morning.
Still plan on going to church. I'm just gonna get 4 hours of sleep. So.
And I usually listen to church online.
We're looking for a church right now, so we're gonna go down to Rogers and kind of try to find one. But anyway, so.
But yeah, people are confused because they're thinking slingshot, and so teachers are having to be like, no, they use the sling. You can totally kill someone with a slingshot. I watched a video, it was quite a while back, but it was a debunker, and he was talking about debunking David killing Goliath with a sling, and they used a slingshot, and it's like, no, he used a sling.
Yeah,
But
like that's
anyways.
like ancient World 101, I thought. Like the poorest warriors used slings. Did nobody play Age of Empires? Like maybe Age of Empires was historically inaccurate. I don't know. I doubt it. Like the weakest guy you could get was the sling guy. You got the sling guy before you got the arrow guy. Anyway, anyway, yeah, that he would use a sling because they like you had to kill lions and bears and stuff. And you need something to break through that skull. So yeah, like that. Yes, I've always understood it to be a sling. I didn't know people thought it was a slingshot. So Jen says, yep, Daryl Hannah did on a movie I seen a long time ago. Well, that's historically inaccurate if that happened.
Hey, Cody. Welcome back.
Yeah, let's see. You can totally kill someone with a slingshot. I know a church you can look for. Yeah, I know you do, bud.
Winky face.
And then Cody says, I told you it was time for bed. Bad intro gets it. I don't sleep.
The Clan of the Cave Bear?
The Clan of the Cave Bear.
Is that a movie?
Huh. We'll have to look that up. I don't know.
Maybe she'll tell us.
Anyway, yeah, so, well, this House of David show has a sling, not a slingshot. You gotta love those debunker guys. That's adorable.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. Yeah. So, the rest of the movie is good. Yeah, that's the
name of her movie.
Okay, that's the name of her movie. Okay. We'll have to look that up. So,
maybe we'll do a video
Clan
on
of the
it.
Bear. So, all right, the rest of the movie is good.
Or the Bear of the Clan.
Yeah. So I have no other complaints. They do a good job depicting the giants. The actor, I don't know his name, but he was the bad guy in Avatar, and he's the prophet Samuel in this. Does a really good job performing Samuel.
He's
yeah,
a good
he's
actor.
fantastic. Don't know his name. Give me just a second. Let me look up his name. Give me a minute.
Looking it up. Looking it up.
Because I'm a nerd, I know him from Death of a Salesman, starring Dustin Hoffman.
Are you from Nerd Wallet?
Oh, I hope. Well, no. Let's see. What was it? Avatar.
Avatar.
Stephen Lang. Stephen Lang plays
I don't wanna
Samuel.
see how
and he does
they
a
make-
fantastic job.
Stephen Lane.
Oh, wait.
Jen said, LOL, wait till you see how they make.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
We're not about mating, we're a PG.
Am I going to have to put explicit content warning on the podcast? So.
Yep, now she's talking about mating, yep.
And a baseball bat smoker. That is true. I'm still smoking the baseball bat.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right, so that's pretty much it. I don't want to go too deep into it because we're going to go through the Russell and KD interview. She's like, hey, it's part of it. I was like, well, yeah. Is this like one of those horrible B movies like from the early 50s and 60s where they had like gratuitous nudity and such to like prop up sales? What is this called? Clan of the Bear. I got to look it up now. Clan.
No, I would figure it's just bears mating.
Clan of the Bear. Clan of the Bear.
She learned how to
1986.
use David's slingshot, and it was forbidden for her.
Let's see.
Oh. Interesting.
So we got. I think I've seen a review on this before. Maybe it was Nostalgia Critic. I don't know. Somebody did a review of this. Yeah, I remember seeing this before. Many a year ago. Let me pull up the screen here. Don't see anything too suggestive.
Was that a white wolf?
I don't know. That's some pretty cool face makeup, though.
Your cool face makeup.
Clan of the Cave Bears. So it's cavemen, looks like.
Oh, okay.
Boy, that's special.
Many years ago.
All right.
Bad intro says not staying, gotta get some sleep, you heathens. God.
Go to church.
Go to
We'll go to church, sir. You have a good night, Bad Intro.
already at
Thanks for
church.
stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good
for
night,
being
sir.
Rest well.
All right, so that's Clan of the Cave Bears. Since I've already pulled that up, let me pull up House of David just so everybody sees the poster.
The poster
Yeah.
clip. Or the clip
Yes,
poster.
Yes. There we are. House of David. It's on Amazon Prime for free. Her parents were killed and some tribe founder. Parents were killed and some tribe founder. Gotcha.
I was about to ask, what's a pay ring?
Yeah,
Parents.
I gotcha. Okay, so there's that. All right, now I've got to find my own thumbnail. So there are some scenes in there I really like. I really liked that they addressed the tribe. Going back to the episode prior, they actually showed the tribes as being, that Israel's fighting as being more cannibalistic, because these people were like psychotically evil.
Very.
And everybody.
Yeah. They would eat their own kids.
I don't know if they'd eat their own kids, but they would burn their kids, to Moloch and all this.
Yeah.
And that's why I get so annoyed at those debunker atheists. Like, they genocided the Amalekites. Like, do you know anything about these people? They were awful. Like, there is a time and place when, like, societies need to be wiped out. And when you're roasting your children alive, it's probably time for your culture to go. So.
Oh, but we should feel sorry for them because they were smitten by God,
Well, I don't. I consider the smiting entirely appropriate. But anyway, so...
Smitten, smite.
So with all that said, I'll go into more detail in episode 2, but just episode 1's great. Samuel actually hacks a guy to death with a sword, which they bring up in here. Like, chops the king of this tribe up into pieces. Samuel, yeah. He takes a sword and cuts a dude.
Like the prophet Samuel.
And it's in the Bible. That's actually what happens. So I was very happy they showed that, which is the segue into this review, because they make that comment about sometimes showing violence is appropriate. And people who complain about it, I kind of wonder, I'm like, have you read the Bible? It's pretty violent. Just saying. But anyway.
Right. And it's very sexual.
Mm-hmm. So, here's Russell.
But people don't like talking about that.
Yep. So, let's see. This is Russell and KD, and I'm starting when he starts talking about the actual episode itself.
That's really encouraging to hear. Okay, so episode 1.
Yeah.
Opening scene. You're seeing.
It was very much.
How do you know when it's time to end a relationship or when
Episode
to really
1.
fight for it to
You're
see if there's
seeing
something
ads.
there?
When that
I don't think
relationship
there's
keeps
like
showing
that,
me
and I
ads.
literally was like, I think you could. I came in the front door. They're paying me to be here. We're doing it. I think you can speak up about it, and that
Okay,
has
who's
just been
who?
happening over the last 5 years in a way that's pretty fundamental.
Who's who?
I don't remember the name of the creator of the House of David.
So one's the creator and
Dallas
who's the other one?
Jenkins, who's created The Chosen.
Okay, so one's the creator of this one,
Yes, I'll point
House
each
of
guy
David.
out. It says they're.
Okay.
I thought their names would be in the title, but their names get said.
That's really encouraging to hear. Okay, so episode 1.
Yeah.
Opening scene. You're seeing the development of David, and specifically the David and Goliath scene.
Yeah.
And I think
Creator of House of David,
anyone who's
Dallas
watching
Jenkins.
it is like, wow, this is amazingly done.
Okay.
Whoever you guys casted, I don't remember the gentleman's name. The gentleman that plays Goliath.
Martin's amazing.
Oh my goodness.
Martin.
Yeah, Martin Ford. He's in the bodybuilder. He's in the Mortal Kombat films. Wonderful guy.
Incredible.
Not actually 10 feet tall.
I
Not
was wondering how you guys
literally.
did that,
He's
but I
6'8",
was,
yeah.
this
He's
is
big.
special effects. So something that has a lot of people, I guess, concerned or they're talking is opening scene, David is running towards Goliath. Goliath, I think, throws a spear at him, and it actually makes contact.
Yeah.
It hits him, and then David falls down. Now, I'm watching this, and I'm going, oh, is this like an alternate version of the story had David lost?
Yeah.
Right? And you guys kind of creating that tension. Or are they saying that David is possible within the realm of the story?
See, I disagree with that. I don't think it created any tension at all. I'm like, he's obviously going to get up, guys. It's not a cliffhanger. Why are you even wasting my time with this? Like,
Well, for people who've never heard the story before, it's definitely a cliffhanger.
yeah, if you've never heard the story, but I mean, I would say people who haven't heard of David and Goliath are in the minority, you know, comfortably.
And they're probably not even going to watch
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I don't see what tension there could have possibly been. And I doubt this would have been a what if scenario without the House of David if the show was titled The House of David. Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't see a what if scenario coming about, like, what if David had died? It's like, why would anybody watch that? Like, if David dies in the first episode, you don't have a show. So
Right.
I don't know why you would think that's a possibility, but okay.
Could have actually taken some damage prior to hitting Goliath.
It's a great, and by the way, all this stuff is so, because I feel like what we do is like a love letter to the source material, and the whole conversation. I remember as soon as the trailer came out, and there was like reaction videos, and there was like thousands of comments, and I literally called Dallas.
Well, people saying like, "Is this going to be accurate?"
and I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? And he's like, now you know what I've been dealing with.
I mean, because there's like the movie about Noah that wasn't the most accurate. So there's some
It's
apprehension.
legitimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do need to add some context to that. Do you remember the movie Noah that came out?
With Russell Crowe?
That apparently that I never saw it, but apparently it was like very. Well, what Glenn Beck had a fantastic term for it. He said the movie turned into the Babylonian Chainsaw Massacre because Noah gets like cabin fever on the ark at some point.
Basically, if you're not biblical at all and you take it with an open mind, it's a great movie. They did a very good job on it. But if you want to get into the biblical theology of it, it's a terrible movie. So it's kind of like the show Supernatural.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite show. If you watch it from a biblical standpoint, you're going to hate the show. Just straight up honest. But if you watch it with an open mind, it's just a show. It's really good.
Yeah.
So, just depends on how you take it.
I remember the movie Exodus of Gods and Kings, and they kind of subtly implied that Moses was insane. I didn't appreciate that, so I understand why people might be a little apprehensive.
Moses was.
No, he wasn't.
insane. He talked to a burning bush. He was.
No. I know. You're doing that thing that Cody does to me, where it's like poke. You gonna get mad? I'm like, yes. The correct answer is yes. I will get mad. My blood pressure will go up. No. No. It did make me miss the Prince of Egypt. Boy, do you remember the Prince of Egypt? Oh, that's an amazing movie. That is animation before the stupid computer stuff kicked in. Yeah, like it's like the peak of like hand-drawn animation. Absolutely amazing.
I
movie.
watched my VHS version of that until the VHS tape stuff started like falling apart.
Yeah, that was a wonderful movie.
It was one of my favorites.
But anyway, and I mean, I hope that this stuff kind of continues because like whether there's added scenes or not, like the biblical mythology needs to stay a part of the culture. And if that means, you know, it has to adapt to the medium to a certain extent, I mean, okay, like Paradise Lost, for example, makes a lot of inferences that aren't strictly speaking into Scripture. Nobody gets mad at Paradise Lost. So I think people need to relax a little bit. But anyway.
Cody put a smiley face emoji.
A little halo, that smiley face of a halo. You lie, sir. You lie.
In particular, you know, we wanted to start out with a hook and a cliffhanger, and without spoiling it, David's speech in front of Goliath is incredible, and we deliver it word for word in the episode and Michael is amazing with it.
Michael,
that plays David. But not in episode 1. We wanted to hold it, and so
David gave a speech to Goliath.
Yeah. You want to read it?
I'm just trying to remember what it was.
Well, I can look it up on Bible Gateway.
Yeah, you want to?
Yes.
You want to do that, and I'll read.
Yes, go for it. Would you mind reading Jen's comments while I do that, please?
Jen, I think I've seen that. Which one? Because we went over. Was it the Exodus with Russell Crowe, or the cartoon Prince of Egypt?
Okay. You want the NIV or the King James?
It don't matter. It was a very long speech.
Let me try to find it really quick.
But yeah, going back to the Prince of Egypt, I think they should do more stories like that. Because it was just, it got deep, but it was still a kids show, and like where they crossed, you can actually you can actually find that in the I think it's the Jordan River.
It's the Red Sea.
Right? The Red Sea. But you can actually still cross there when it's low tide. People go over there and they're like, this is where they crossed. And during low tide, the sea will drop below. Jen said the Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, that is an amazing movie, man. It's absolutely amazing.
And when I first saw the whale, I'll never forget it. The first time I've seen that.
Well, just that whole and again, that's not in the Bible. We don't know that actually happened, but it makes sense there. The idea that Ramses was kind of a brother to Moses, and that enmity between the two of them, that was,
Well, they were kind of step bros, weren't they?
I don't think the Bible makes that clear. So yeah,
Really?
I don't remember anybody complaining about it at the time, though.
No.
So but it was like a really powerful back and forth in that movie. So that rivalry that they set up. I mean, Anyway, if you want to read this, it starts at 45, verse 45.
Oh man, it's really small text. Hang on, give me a second.
Sorry, I
zoomed in on it. So 45, David said to the Philistine, "Thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield." Oh, okay, yeah, now I'm remembering it. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. Do you want me to keep going? This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand.
There you go. That is the speech. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Maybe well,
I thought you already seen it.
No, this is episode. You don't get to that part in episode 1, which is, they did.
Oh, they literally drop it off where
They just start with Dave. Yeah, they just start with David running towards Goliath and dodging spears, and then he gets nicked by one and falls to the ground. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's like, anyway. But there's, I mean, yeah, I felt like it didn't really add anything to the story because you already know what happens. I just thought, like, I understand it because you need to root, like, people need to know the story that you're referring to, but you don't need to spend so much time building that cliffhanger because people aren't actually going to think David dies.
It's kind of like in The Hobbit. They split it up into 3-hour portions in the movies, and it's like, well, they left out some stuff that could have been really important.
Yeah, like
the wizard, not the wizard. When Frodo and Sam and when they first start their journey, they come across this dude out in the
Tom
woods.
Bombadil.
That's a very important part in the book, but they never.
Yeah, it's an important part, but I'm kind of glad they didn't include it.
I'm sorry. Was that in the
That's
Hobbit
the
or
Fellowship. Yeah, no, I'm glad they didn't include Tom Bombadil. I like Tom Bombadil. He's a great character, but that dude, it takes a little bit. I think they have to explain why he's not used to fight Sauron, because you see that guy's powers in the film, your first question is, well, why doesn't that guy just kick Sauron's teeth in?
Yeah.
I mean, he was a very powerful figure in that lore, but the idea is you didn't really know what he was, and he was kind of nonpartisan, as it were. Like, he just didn't... Like, what did they say? One line in there, as I recall, was, we cannot give the ring to Tom Bombadil because he's probably going to lose it. Like, he was a very flippant character, So they didn't trust him for the task. So, anyway. So that was one part of the story. So I like that character a lot, but I'm kind of glad they didn't include him in the movie. That was a narrative choice I actually agreed with. But that's all right. That's all right. Well, your overall point is valid, because a lot of times these guys will add a bunch of details, and this is just true for any writing. They'll add a bunch of details to stuff, and then they'll neglect things that other people think are really important. And then people get mad because it's like, well, you added all this other garbage in there. Why'd you get rid of that?
Right.
So, anyway. All right.
Well, it's just like in Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of Harry Potter, he breaks the Elder Wand and throws it off the bridge. So many Harry Potter fans were so mad because that's not actually what he does in the books.
Really? What's he doing in the books?
I don't recall because I haven't actually read the books myself.
I read the books, but I don't remember that happening. So.
Yeah, because it didn't happen.
Wow.
But in the movies, he breaks the wand,
Well, I'll have to look that up sometime. Yeah.
I think they did that just so they could end the movies.
I got you.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really kept up with it too much, but anyway, we can get through this.
The speech, just so if anybody's listening, everybody's like, he didn't give his speech. He does. It's word for word, and it's amazing. With him getting knocked down and the way it plays out, I don't want to give away the end, but sometimes you think about film as a language. It is its own language. It's a visual language. It's an emotional language. And so you're trying to communicate ideas visually. And one of the things that became thematic for me was this word rise, and rising up into your destiny, stepping beyond your fear, and then rising up into your destiny. So I felt the best way to portray that was to knock him down and then see him rise back up as Samuel appears. So anyway, that you'll get to it in the episode, but we come back to that moment, and the way it ties in to the whole story we're telling in the end is very emotional to me. And the theme that I'm trying to get into is that it is this imagery of I wanted imagery of David rising up and getting back up and then running at Goliath, which is how we tie it in. So I won't say how we tie it in exactly, but it's really, really cool. And the method of the pilot is for you to say, wait, that's not how it happened. Like, what happened? And that intrigue is what we want, because we want to start that conversation. And then when we come back to the moment,
yeah, but the problem is people are going, that's really a stretch, though. Am I going to be able to trust this series, or is it going to make me mad somewhere else? Like, Christians have been burned a lot, so that's kind of a dangerous game to play. Like, you can play it, and I don't necessarily fault you for it, but you do have to be a little strategic. And starting right at the beginning before you've established any credibility, let's say, it's kind of a risky decision. Still think the show is good. Like, the rest of the episode, I have no complaints with. But the fact that that spear thing happens and that David is a bastard, I'm not happy with. I'm not going to sit there and go, this entire show is crap over it, but that did irk me a little bit. Just a little, not a whole lot, but a little.
Making him out to be an inglorious bad word.
Well, it just kind of insulted Jesse. You know?
Yeah.
It's like...
It's an insult to his father and his father's name and whatnot.
Yeah. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
It wasn't necessary, and I don't know. They just wanted it to add drama to kind of build Jesse up, or build David up, but you tear Jesse down in the process, which is, and that raised, it's just kind of an irritant. So
makes you go, Urgh.
Yeah, you just go, ugh. Yeah. So anyway,
I feel it really delivers.
Well, the question is, so it's true that David getting hit by a spear is not in the Bible, but is it contrary to biblical truth? Is this a theological issue that's going to cause people to believe something wrong about God? It's not directly from Scripture, but it's not unscriptural. It's not like he's saying something that we need to be warned against, or it's false teaching. It's not, and it's also not impossible that it's true. Like, it could have happened.
Yeah. I mean, but
the Bible doesn't say he ran towards Goliath and did not get nicked by anything.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't say
Goliath
that he
had
did,
weapons.
but it's not impossible.
Yeah. So, okay, having said that.
I'll add to that for context. David was going up against a Philistine. The Philistines were not honorable at all. And it sounds like something they would have done instead of, back then they loved watching one-on-ones, kind of like the Wild West. The Philistines were not honorable at all. They would have probably tried to nick David a couple times out of mocking him. He's a kid coming up against this big dude.
Yeah, I wouldn't go.
Hey, let's toss a couple spears at this kid, see if we can hit him.
No, I mean,
sounds like something the Philistines would do.
Yeah, my complaint with it's more narrative. It's not biblical. It's like, you guys, you defeated your own purpose. You robbed that scene of some of its tension, and people are going to be annoyed because now I have to wait for 5 episodes to get to that point. Like, people don't go, oh boy, I can't wait for episode 5. They're going to go, ugh, I got to wait for episode 5 before I can figure out what the stuff that actually matters that I don't know about. You know, it's like, oh, I've got to wait. Like, you mean to tell me David is going to have to be like a shepherd boy for like 5 episodes? You know, it's people aren't going to be looking forward to that. You know?
Well, I mean, personally, I would actually like a longer version of getting to know David before he got into it, you know?
Well, there you go. I would be annoyed. I was annoyed. I was like, oh no, we're gonna drag it out. Just have like 2 episodes, no more than 3. 2 episodes.
Oh yeah.
You know, and like the way I would have done it is I would have showed him running towards Goliath, and I just had that scene. You'd have saved yourself 2 minutes of screen time, and it would establish what you needed to establish. And it's like, okay, here's this big dramatic moment that you allude to, but you don't show, and so you're still kind of teasing it. But it's a scenario where less is more.
Did they show him picking up 5 stones?
They did show him picking up stones in a creek. I don't think they showed him picking up all 5. But he was at a creek at one point picking up stones. So yeah, I mean, I would have done that. And then I would have got rid of the David being a bastard thing. You don't need it. You don't need it.
No,
it's just fluff. Like, it's insulting to Jesse, and it's fluff. It's just filler.
Yeah, and it's just adding for Hollywood.
Yeah, it's just to get that screen time in, and it's just filler. So, you know, you're going to make a big deal about the harp thing, and you're going to make a big deal about his mom, and it's like, okay, well, that's fine, but are you going to start to say that his mom was like a pivotal figure in his life and all this and that? We don't have any proof of that. So, I mean, like, how big a deal are you going to make the mom thing? So...
Did they show Saul, the part where Saul tries to get him in his armor?
No, we haven't even gotten there yet. Like, by the end of the episode, the first episode, you've killed 1 lion. And Samuel is on his way to anoint David. Which annoyed, like, well, I shouldn't say it annoyed me. It was fine. Because it did show the battle that basically where Samuel says, I'm picking somebody else. And you needed to show that. You needed to show Saul losing his position. There was one little thing from like a I mean, this would be kind of a doctrinal thing, I guess. But it's like maybe subjective, so I don't know how big a deal it is. But they acted like Saul was really reticent about his decisions. And I never got that vibe from Saul. Like, if you look at how he responds to Samuel's rebuke, and it's to me, it seems like his appeals to God are disingenuous, and he's mainly concerned about appeasing the people and, like, solidifying his glory. I never felt... Because Saul does that throughout the story. He'll sit there and go, oh, I know you're a servant of God. Come down, David. Well, you kind of know that if David actually were to leave the cave, Saul would kill him. You know, like, David doesn't leave the cave, obviously, because he doesn't believe the guy. And so Saul has a pattern of behavior in that story where he's clearly disingenuous. He's clearly just giving lip service to God. And I think that's an important part of his character, because he says the right things, he does the right things. He's clearly not sincere about it, though. And they showed him as, like, actually being somewhat penitent, like repentant, like sorry, you know, that he had done this horrible stuff. And I don't think he was. And so I think that's part of the whole problem. You know, Saul doubled down and doubled down and doubled down until he eventually died, you know. I don't think he was actually genuine until Samuel shows up at the Witch of Endor incident. Like, I don't think he's actually penitent until then.
Yeah.
You know, because then it's like, Samuel's like, okay, God is going to kill you tomorrow, and he's going to kill your whole family now, or his sons, you know.
And then he falls on his sword.
Yeah, like, I don't think he was actually penitent, or, like, repentant in any way until that moment. He may not even been repentant then.
That would be good in a show, just that whole battle.
I think they're going to show it. Given what they did show in the first episode about the way they portrayed, I don't remember the name of the group that they attacked, but the way that they portrayed that group actually being cannibalistic and pretty violent, I mean, like, I
Here's
do
one.
think that they'll go there.
Here's one. I've actually been asked this before. Jonathan and David, were they?
No.
You know,
they say
okay,
that.
Yeah, people have asked me. I'm like, no, they were very close as friends. Have you never had a best friend before? Without being that way.
Well, our
you know?
society's so blasted, perverted. Any form of affectionate familiarity is obviously equivocated with something lewd. I mean, it's like, get your mind out of the gutters for like 2 minutes, guys. Like, chill.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it is.
You've caught backlash in The Chosen for extra biblical narrative and backstory. And as a creative, I understand that you got a character development and create tension and all that sort of stuff. But with a scene like that, or with some of the scenes on The Chosen, I think people are wondering, like, are you guys doing this to get people to start talking, to get people, chattering on the internet? Like,
poke the bear.
Yeah, like, are you guys poking intentionally, like, oh, this is going to be a great hook? Like, it's like a good YouTube thumbnail, right?
Can I just be honest?
Or is it purely creative and artistic?
I wrote the first episode of House of David. There's a scene later on where, with the handprint in the, when Jonathan puts his hand in the handprint, and this town is attacked by, by giants. That was the original open hook of the show. And as we tested it with audiences, they were just the dynamics of Israel are very difficult to understand. Like, there was the time of prophets and seers. Saul was the first of the kings. It's a theocracy, so ultimately God's in charge. And then a lot of people assumed that this boy they were seeing was David. They didn't make the assumption that the show House of David was actually David and Goliath. And so
they just lacked a grounding.
Yeah, they lacked.
They were disoriented a little bit.
I'm a huge believer in serving the audience, and so we test. And so there was some legitimate confusion.
Okay.
And so then the answer to that was actually moving the David and Goliath moment from another episode and putting an open hook. And when we did that, it just like all the puzzle pieces fell into place. Okay. The audience needed to feel oriented and they needed to understand the world. So, no, we didn't.
You're not trolling.
Not trolling at all, but I haven't thought of that. Maybe we should, do you troll? I've never thought of that.
I am the law.
I'm not as good with the.
Yeah, the Law of Moses stuff. This season, it's become controversial that Jesus prays for Judas, which I didn't know was a controversial topic, that Jesus would pray for his enemies. Yeah, but they'll often say, Dallas is doing this just because he wants to get a reaction. I have never once ever done anything in my show to avoid criticism or gain praise or poke the bear, ever. Okay. I serve God, I serve the text, I serve the story. When I'm sitting on my laptop in my living room writing this and with my co-writers, it's hard enough to write a show that people want to watch. It's hard enough to write a show that's even at all good. It's hard enough to try to be faithful to the character and intentions of Jesus in the Gospels. To add another layer of that, of how can I manipulate the audience to start talking on YouTube. I don't have the brain capacity for it, and I also don't think it's good art. I think the artists throughout history that have done things to provoke are usually unsustainable. They might be successful for an album or two, but they're not rooted on a solid foundation. The artists that last, the artists that have something to say over a sustainable amount of time, run out of crazy things to poke the bear with, and eventually the audience goes, what? Okay, you got us shocked this time. What more can you do? And they reach a limit. So I've never, ever once done that for that purpose.
And this is an important distinction too, because I found a lot of times, I think authenticity is really important in content, whether it's music or movies or television shows. And I feel like a lot of times in the conversations that I've been in, trying to represent our audience in Christianity inside the industry, and a lot of great people, there's a question like, oh, what do you think the audience wants? What do you think the audience wants? We are the audience, And so one distinction that I think, and knowing Dallas for years, and we talk about that we are legitimate nerds for the material, and there's a legitimate excitement when he's telling me what he's doing in Seasons of the Chosen, then I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Like, we are legitimate fans. Like, we are a part of this audience. And so at the end of the day, I think And for other content creators out there, I think J.J. Abrams said, like, you kind of got to trust that if something is meaningful and inspirational and entertaining for you, that it's going to be for other people, that there's more of you out there. So a big part of it is just like, we are making the shows that we want to watch with our families. Yeah. And that's kind of as simple as it is. And
so there'd be no purpose to try to troll.
Yeah,
you're like, well, I'm messing with the thing that I want to see myself.
I don't know the internet well enough to do that, but I can tell you that we're making the coolest content that we can that's accurate to the book that we love, and we're having a great time doing it as a member of the audience, and it's just kind of as simple as that.
It's more fun to see you troll.
Okay.
Like I'll do something in the show, and then you'll talk about it in the thumbnails. Like, this is shocking.
This is shocking.
You are the king of the ambiguous look.
Yeah.
Like,
We're gonna need you guys to shoot some of those thumbnails for that. So some of the other, I guess, controversial parts is, you said the show me and my family to watch, right?
Yeah.
In Christian media, music and film, it's been generally family friendly, right? Clean, safe. The trope of the soccer mom van wanting something safe enough but not too edgy to play in the car. And I'm watching this show, and it feels like I'm watching 300 at times. Like, it is violent.
Yeah.
And I like it.
I was about to say, what did you think? I
love it.
Yeah,
I'm
great.
Like, and I think The Chosen had elements where it was dark, and I'm like, ooh, like, this is spooky.
Well, we've
dark.
done, like, I mean, the opening of episode 1 is a woman who's got blood on her hands and she's screaming, and we've got swords going through someone's gut as well. A little bit more.
You don't have the Bronze Age, man.
Yeah, we don't have what you're dealing
it's
with.
a brutal world.
So there was some violent stuff there, but this is like.
And I don't know if you know this, the crucifixion, which is coming in season 6.
I don't know how you're going to pull that off.
It's quite violent.
It is going to emotionally wreck all of us.
Yeah,
you know?
but it has to be violent. But yeah, I didn't mean to.
So I was just saying, like, the only time we've ever seen anything like this is in a crucifixion scene in the Passion, right? Which some may argue is like a bit much, is like kind of gory.
Yeah.
But this is almost on that level of intensity with how violent and bloody parts are. People are going to be like, but I thought I could watch this with my 4- and 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And they can't. And
I've always felt that was one of the detriments of Christian media, that whole desire to be family-friendly thing. And I'm going to say something that might be controversial. I don't know. I kind of feel like the reason it doesn't work is because it's lying. You whitewash everything.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, growing up, Sunday school, they'd bring us these little papers, with one scene of David hitting Goliath, and they want you to color it in. And so you color it in, and the good Lord forbid there be any extra blood on it.
Yeah, right.
The kid gets in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have a kid at church getting in trouble for trying to put a little blood on their coloring sheet.
Well, I think it's one of the reasons why people have such a hard time believing the Bible is because they have a cartoon version of it in their heads. I think it's one of the great detriments to Christian media is how clean it's always been. Because it's just not true. It's not the way the Bible reads at all. But it's more concerned with literally just appealing to that soccer mom demographic as it were, than actually telling the story.
Soccer mom demographic.
Yeah. So, I'm glad to see more like dark, gritty portrayals of this stuff because that was life back then. That's how it was.
Yeah.
And that sort of reality, I think, also kind of resonates with people because people understand that the world was that way.
Yeah, and it's just like, in the Passion, have you seen, who played, what was his name?
Jim Caviezel.
Caviezel? Yeah. Have you seen an interview with him when he talked?
Yeah, I've seen a couple, 1 or 2.
And what he had to go through.
Yeah.
Whew.
Oh yeah, it's intense. I've always felt that we sanitize things too much. It's just not true. And somebody who is a young Earth creationist made a very good point when talking about the story of Noah's flood. They're like, look, one of the reasons that people have such a hard time believing that the flood was global and that it was a real thing is they don't have a picture of the ark by its proper dimensions in their head. That's one of the reasons they built that Ark Encounter. They don't visualize it as it's depicted. they visualize a giraffe and an elephant hanging out of the thing like a clown car. And when you draw absurdist kind of cartoons like that, well, of course people aren't going to believe it. And of course people are going to associate it with child fairy tales. You know, that lack of realism, that Sunday school version of the Bible has really been a detriment to Christianity as a whole, I'd say. I don't think it does anybody any favors. I mean, even if it is for kids. I mean, of course, I'm saying that as somebody who grew up on a farm. You see things on the farm when you're young. You know? So it's like, I mean, I never saw the point of cleaning stuff up, but then again, my world wasn't exactly sanitary either. So, you know.
So, is it okay, and what would your kind of response be to like, hey, Christian media is supposed to be family friendly, and you're giving us this kind of, what is it rated at, 14?
It's T14. My answer to that question is basically, I set out to make and everybody's different. Yeah. And I'm not like the model of like writing a book on parenting. In fact, most of the time I feel like I share this line from Jerry Maguire where he says, "You see this jacket? You want it? I don't need it because I'm cloaked in failure." That's how I feel as a dad, especially trying to get my kids aware of the Bible at all. But I wanted to make a show that I could watch with my whole family, and that hopefully my whole family would enjoy. Now my youngest is 8, my oldest is 16, and then it's 14 and 11 in the middle, and so it's hard to make anything that everyone enjoys. So I wanted to make the show visceral enough to be authentic, because it was an authentically brutal time. But I also wanted it to make safe enough for my whole family. So if you wonder,
you think the first episode is for your 8-year-old?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He was. I mean, we play Halo together, and he's like, "Let's go," you know. So
let me speak as a good parent.
That is a good parent. What are you talking about? Good.
I play Halo with my girls.
Yeah, I think kids can handle more than people let on. I think, you know, we're always complaining about, oh, these young kids, these young whippersnackers, they don't get it. You know, they're just not with the times. Well, maybe because your mother hit them. You know, I think an 8-year-old would be perfectly fine. My favorite episode of Superbook when I was a kid was the episode where Deborah was the judge of Israel. I don't know if you remember that. I had 2 favorites. I had...
Superbook?
Yeah, it was an old anime from the 80s, I think. And the...
Anime.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call it an anime.
It was the style of the drawing. It was an anime style of drawing. But anyway, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was made in Japan, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right.
So I had 2 favorite episodes. My favorites were Naham. I think it's Naham is his name. The good left arm. And he stabs that guy, and, you know, the dude's so fat, the dagger sticks into his bulbous gut. Sinks into his gut, and then the guards don't come in because they thought he went to the bathroom because he smelled so bad when he died, because he excreted his bowels when he died, apparently. So yeah, so I liked that episode, and then I liked the episode of Deborah the judge, because there's a girl at the end. I don't remember the guy's name. It starts with a C, like it's not Caesar, but it's something with a C. Anyway, the bad guy general goes and hides in a woman's tent. And then she drives a tent peg through his temple. And as an 8-year-old boy, I thought that was awesome. So I'm like...
My favorite episode was Solomon.
Yeah.
Where he, you know, they bring the 2 women with a baby. And Solomon pulls out a sword and he's like, waves it over the kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that was just so mind-blowing to me that he was about to cut this kid, and that has stuck with me ever.
It sticks with you. Makes an impression.
Yeah.
You know?
So. Yep.
Anyway. So I just feel like people are a little too sensitive. That's just my humble opinion. But anyway.
VeggieTales sensitive?
Yeah, VeggieTales sensitive. It's got to be super sterile, you know?
VeggieTales.
Your kids are older, though, right?
My kids are old. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's every family's different.
Yeah,
I think there are some families who wouldn't be comfortable with their 8-year-olds.
And you're like, and you know,
sword go through.
I've got a really good therapist that your son's going to need or whatever.
Yeah.
But
you wouldn't show. You have a 10-year-old.
I got a 10-year-old, so we're watching Boba Fett and Mandalorian.
Yeah.
He can't watch it without me. He's
correct,
horrified, but he'll watch it with me. So I would show my 10-year-old
But your
House of David.
4-year-old
I'm actually going to try. My 4-year-old, no, absolutely.
It's 4. I would not. Yeah, but again, Logan is my 8-year-old, and and I feel that I would watch this with him. But I am the parent that gets in trouble constantly. I remember I took Kate to Jurassic World when she was 6, and I'm like, we're coming home, because there was like a cartoon movie as well, and we're going to the theater, and I have standards, man, and it was a poorly reviewed, and I'm like, Jurassic World looks cool, it's dinosaurs, it's educational. So we go watch it, and she's like a thrill seeker anyway, and we're driving home, and I'm like, just let me frame this with Mom. Okay, let's just introduce this concept gradually. And immediately,
I've done this.
Dad took me to Jurassic World, and I was terrified. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
My Jurassic World was, I showed my, he was 8 or 9 at the
couple of times.
Oh yeah, you had a
Last-
kid brag about seeing a movie they weren't supposed to watch.
Well, it's just like, oh, babe, it's educational. No, it's not. It's scary. They're terrified. And my kids go to bed and sleep like baby, like rocks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the thing about, our kids these days is they're not scared by scary movies anymore.
Yeah.
Because we've over time numbed ourselves to things like Chucky. When I was 6 years old, I think, I saw one clip of Chucky and I've been scarred for life.
It's amazing what'll scar you. You never know.
Yeah. And I didn't show my kids Chucky. It was like one of those ads for one of the newer ones. Just an ad popped up on like YouTube or something.
Yeah.
And it was like, that looks stupid. I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, oh, okay.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's, you never know what's going to get to the kid and what isn't going to get to the kid. But I think, you gotta show kids the way things are to an extent. So that's part of being honest.
Yeah.
And unedited version of the Michael Jordan
Yeah,
documentary
yeah.
with my wife in the house as Jordan is dropping F-bombs. And I
Yeah,
was like,
you forget that.
Yeah, you forget it, and I thought it was the TV rated, but it was not.
You forget about the F-bombs in Top Gun, too, and in Free Guy. And then they start quoting those movies in front of your parents, which makes you feel like, having said that...
And the F-bombs in episode 4 of House of David.
They're not, yeah, but they're
There's
in
no
the
F-bombs
original
in House of
language.
David.
So my point is, like, every time you watch House of David, again, I'm a fan first and foremost, and what I tell people is I'm only one viewer, but I am the first viewer, and I hold that kind of sacred. And I'm making the show for my family, and I will never put anything in the show that I would not show my entire family, and I will tame the material to that standard, and that's what people need to know. Now, every family's different, but that is how I'm making the show.
Yeah. One of the parts, and this happens to me all the time watching The Chosen, I see something and I go, is that in the Bible? And then I go, and surely enough, the most controversial parts for me are, I always find them in the Bible.
I know.
And that's what happened with House of David. Samuel walking through, he's frustrated, he sees the king of the Amalekites, and he brutally kills this guy. And I was like, wait, Samuel's a prophet, he's this holy man of God.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, I see it, and then I go to 1 Samuel 15,
And
and
it's
there it is. It's worse.
Yeah.
The actual language was like he
hacked him into pieces.
Hacked him into pieces.
I was watching it going, oh, cool, he had Samuel kill the king. That's pretty cool. I like this guy. And my wife's like, that's in the Bible. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I've been focused on the Gospels for the last 7 years of my life.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's the same thing. I've had people, we did in season 4, Mary of Bethany, Lazarus' sister, washing Jesus' feet with her hair, and people are going, why did you change it? It's supposed to be the impure woman who blah, blah, blah. How could you ruin this scene? And I'm like, just check out.
Just go back and read it.
Yeah, just check it out, because there's 2 accounts, and so that's sometimes the more satisfying thing. If there's a moment when I enjoy poking the bear, it's when you do something that people go, why would you do it that way? And I'm like, because that's...
At least you're sticking to the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you like apples? Because this is in the Bible. I like them apples.
It's just fun to... But yeah, there were moments in House of David when I was watching it going, I forgot that. That is...
Yeah.
And it always... you mentioned earlier that you like some of the intrigue that sometimes people have. I'm not sure I would put it in the way you did, where it's like, on purpose, I want to cause people to say that's not in the Bible, let me go check. I would say on purpose, I want people to go to the Bible anyway, just to check everything. I love the fact that I'm hearing from people who open their Bibles while they're watching the show.
All right, guys. We're
All
gonna
right,
take this
that is
conversation
it.
And go a little deeper.
So,
No, I want to go watch it.
I recommend it. There's a couple things that I have issues with, but I recommend it. And we're going to try to do an episodic review each week for a while, see how people respond to that. If they are interested, they'll return, and if they aren't, they won't. But, final thoughts. I kind of thought that if we showed more stuff that was actually in the Bible, if we actually expressed more of the gritty details, maybe we'd realize the Bible's realistic and there'd be a more masculine understanding of manhood even. But I also think that censorship, that's not Christianity. That's more influence of the culture than anything. That's not, that's not, Christianity doesn't tell you to be all sweet and saline and, sterile, and whitewash things, I guess. So, yeah. Well, Trevor, that is all I've got, sir. Do you have any final thoughts?
I'm going to go see if I can get, what did you say, Amazon
Prime, yep.
And it's free.
Well, the show is free on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime itself is not free. I don't know what it's up to now.
So, well, as long as you have Amazon Prime, you
correct.
You don't have to rent it.
That's correct.
That's what I can't stand is I'm already paying a subscription, and then Amazon Prime is like, oh, you gotta rent it.
And then you get to watch commercials after you've rented it and bought Amazon Prime, which is just awesome. But anyway, it is irritating, and they went to court over it. I hope they lose that court case. Anyhow, so.
Well, I hope they stop with the turning ads up.
Mm-hmm. Like when they jump the volume up.
My
gosh, that's so painful sometimes.
It'll jump scare you if you're trying to take a nap.
Yeah.
And you're listening to Markiplier nonchalantly play a game, and you got to turn down to Markiplier's voice.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's this really loud ad over your car insurance.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I hate how they turn ads up. I hate it. Drives me insane. It's like, guys, I understand that you need to make money, and I understand that you need to sell stuff, but if I'm mad at you, I'm not going to buy your product. So how about you stop antagonizing me? That would be great. So, anyway. Well, Mr. Trevor, I think that's all we have, unless you've got something else to say.
I'm going to go watch it.
Sounds good, man. And we'll do a review of episode 2 next week. So.
Maybe.
Well, I'm going to. I don't know. That's the plan, I don't know if we'll have it's not going to be an hour and a half or however long it's been, but we are going to do a review of it, so.
Ooh, we might give our testimony.
Right. Yeah, the plan is to give our testimonies first part of the episode. We'll have a couple topics, and then we'll probably end with the review of episode 2 of House of David. That's the plan. So, all right, with all that said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. See ya.
Good night, everybody.
Or morning.